Chapter 579. At this moment, from afar, one could see that Wang Feng was surrounded by two different types of energy. A green hurricane gathered around Wang Feng, and the lightning energy on the ground gathered to form a purple lightning energy. It circled around the green hurricane and finally entered the Xianming sword in Wang Feng's hand. His aura increased tremendously. Wang Feng's sword was like a rainbow as he roared. His entire body was wrapped in the power of wind and lightning as he attacked Yu Yuanjin. Since his opponent wanted to end the battle quickly, Wang Feng naturally didn't want to drag things out. If he didn't know the ultimate wind and lightning spear technique, he might have had to drag things out against Yu Yuanjin. He had to use all his skills to suppress Yu Yuanjin. It was fine if he lost, but Yu Yuanjin was the sect leader of the Blue Lightning Tyrant sect. Wang Feng didn't believe that Yu Yuanjin didn't have any trump cards. Now that he had fused his 6 soul rings and combined with the terrain, he could form an attack that wasn't inferior to his martial soul true body. If his opponent had an even stronger trump card, Wang Feng really didn't have any hope. It had to be said that titled Dalu with top-tier martial souls were very strong, especially rank 96 titled Dalu. Wang Feng's overall strength should be between rank 95 and rank 96 in his current state. This was also because he was using the divine light of heaven and earth to suppress his opponent's martial soul true body. Otherwise, Wang Feng would have a hard time dealing with a rank 95 transcendent Douluo. This was because a soul master who had activated his martial soul true body was on a completely different level. Wang Feng couldn't defeat a rank 96 titled Dalu with his martial soul true body. However, all soul masters' strength would be reduced in front of the divine light of heaven and earth. At this moment, Wang Feng used the Xianming flying sword and combined with the terrain to unleash his worldly tempest style. In addition to his current state, he could unleash the full strength of this move. Boom! It was like two shooting stars colliding, and there was an intense explosion of light. A terrifying shockwave spread out in all directions, forcing the spectators to retreat over 10 steps. Those with lower soul force levels were directly blown away. The boundless airwaves turned into fog that instantly enveloped the entire plaza. Lightning flashed in the fog from time to time. Everyone present watched this scene closely. They didn't know how it would turn out. Soon, the fog dissipated. Two silhouettes stood in two different positions. The scales on Yu Yuanjin's body fell off, and a wound extended from his dragonized claw to his arm. Blood flowed down his claws and dripped to the ground. His face was filled with shock. On the other side, the white-robed Popetiff only had his sleeve torn, which extended all the way to his shoulder. His arm was faintly purple in color, as if it had been corroded by a special energy, but there were no injuries. The tempest of heaven and earth did not disappoint Wang Feng. Unlike the 7-kill swordsmanship, this move gathered the power of heaven and earth. In terms of power, it was even more powerful. However, there was a limit to it, and it could not be released at any time. From this point alone, it was slightly inferior to the 7-murder swordplay. Yu Yuanjin's Thunder Dragon Fist was actually a similar soul skill. By fusing his 6 soul rings and strengthening his body, he was able to unleash it with the assistance of a lightning terrain. In addition, he was already extremely powerful, so their power was actually on par. Yu Yuanjin was shocked by this. A few days ago, he had personally gone to the 7-treasure glazed tile sect to ask about the details of the battle. After all, the white-robed Popetiff was about to arrive. He had to find out what his opponent was capable of. How could he defeat 2 titled Douluo? After asking around, he was quite confident that he could defeat his opponent with the help of the unique terrain of the Blue Lightning Overlord sect, even without using his martial soul true body. Who would have thought that the white-robed Popetiff would have such an unpredictable move? Yu Yuanjin dared to guarantee that he had never seen that sword move before. It was definitely not the sword Douluo's 7-murder swordplay. How could he be on par with him? This was his home ground. Thinking of this, Yu Yuanjin charged forward again. Wang Feng frowned slightly. This Yu Yuanjin is a little reckless. Again, taste my tempest of heaven and earth. Logically speaking, Wang Feng could use it without any scruples in this place. The two immediately clashed again. Wang Feng didn't even use any other soul skills. Just the tempest of heaven and earth was enough to tie with Yu Engine. The terrain was too useful for him. It was far more effective than any other soul skill. Furthermore, Yu Engine had entered a special state after fusing his soul rings. He couldn't use any other soul rings. Although he was still very strong, he couldn't defeat Wang Feng. Wang Feng became braver as the battle went on. He used the tempest of heaven and earth with the dark mystic sword. Although he was still a little shaky at first, he became more proficient and more powerful. The sword intent grew stronger, and the power of wind and thunder filled the entire area. However, although this move borrowed the power of wind and thunder, it still consumed a lot of soul power. After another round of confrontation, Yu Engine panted heavily. He couldn't help but want to activate his martial soul true body. But thinking of Ning Fengji's advice, Yu Engine suppressed it. His opponent had a soul skill called the Rainbow Divine Light that could lower the quality of his martial soul. Once he activated his martial soul true body, he would be hit directly. His strength would be greatly reduced, and he would definitely lose. At this moment, the white-robed Popediff slowly opened his mouth. Sect Master you can't do anything to me. Let's call it a draw. Yu Engine's body trembled when he heard this. He was a little unwilling. What kind of strange sword skill was that? How could it be so powerful? With such a powerful sword skill, why couldn't he defeat those two old fellows in the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect? One had to know that Yu Engine was on his home ground, and in this terrain his strength was slightly stronger. Even he was beaten to this extent. Yu Engine was a little confused. In the end, Yu Engine sighed and nodded. Then let's call it a draw. If we continue fighting like this, we won't be able to determine the winner. After he finished speaking, the crowd was in an uproar again. Many disciples of the Blue Lightning Tyrant sect looked at each other. They didn't expect their sect master to be unable to defeat the white-robed Popediff in his home ground. Another draw? Strange. Why didn't Uncle Yu use his martial soul true body? Lu Erlong frowned. Father, his current state is only slightly weaker than his martial soul true body, the master said in a low voice. A soul skill like the Thunder Dragon Fist is extremely powerful. It needs to be combined with a special terrain to unleash it, but this Popediff's sword skill seems to be even more profound and mysterious. If I'm not mistaken, it also uses the terrain. There might even be other forces. Tang Sen also watched with rapt attention. He watched every second very carefully. He understood a little bit. His teacher was right. The white-robed Popediff's sword skill not only used the terrain, but also the wind. It merged into a more powerful force of heaven and earth, and when it was unleashed, it was a draw with Yu Engine. And he only used that one move. End of chapter. Chapter 580. He's really strong, Tang San said softly. He didn't use his martial soul true body. He must have gotten some information from sect leader Ning and has some reservations. Master continued. It seems like this white-robed Popediff is unbelievably strong. He probably has some method or soul skill that can restrain his martial soul true body. If that's the case, any high-level soul master will be much weaker in front of him. Popediff, this position has reappeared in the martial soul hall. This person is indeed qualified to ascend to this position. Master had always studied martial souls and soul skills. Although he hadn't been to the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect, he could guess some things. Doesn't that mean the martial soul hall has become stronger again? Lu Erlong couldn't help but ask. Tang Sen was silent. Master was also silent. At this moment, the white-robed Popediff didn't have any intention of staying after the battle ended. He directly flew into the sky with Hulaina and Bishop Thomas on his sword and left. A few days later, the white-robed Popediff tied with the rank 96 Yu Engine in the Blue Lightning Overlord sect. The world of soul masters was shaken again. 2 of the 3 upper sects had already been tied. Many soul masters couldn't help but sigh. This white-robed Popediff was already a force to be reckoned with. Another month later, There were only a little more than 2 months left before the deadline of 5 years was up. The white-robed Popediff finished his inspection of the Martial Soul Hall in the Heaven Do Empire. Wang Feng stepped on the road to the Star Luo Empire. The Martial Soul Hall didn't seem to know the location of the Clear Sky sect. Since they couldn't find it, then forget it. However, Wang Feng took some time to visit Nodding City when he was inspecting the Martial Soul Halls in the various cities of the Heaven Do Empire as the white-robed Popediff. More than 10 years had passed, but Nodding City hadn't changed much. Wang Feng even saw Su Yuntao. However, Su Yuntao had become the Grand Deacon of Nodding City's Martial Soul Hall and was about to be promoted to bishop. When Wang Feng returned to Nodding City, he was deeply moved for quite a while. When he was traveling the continent, Wang Feng didn't return to Nodding City because he was traveling by chance. He didn't expect that he would actually return to Nodding City and see Su Yuntao when he was patrolling the continent as White Popediff. However, Su Yuntao did not help anyone awaken their martial souls. Su Yuntao and the girl named Cece were married. Their child was already a few years old. This made Wang Feng sigh. Time spares no man. When Wang Feng arrived at the Star Luo Empire, things were much smoother than when he had first begun his patrol. This was because White Popediff's name had spread across the entire continent. The royal family of the Star Luo Empire didn't have much interest in fighting to a draw with the top-tier titled Douluo of the two great sections. Although there were titled Douluo who were even stronger than Douluo, none of them had any intention of fighting the white-clothed Popediff. However, Wang Feng had a whole new level of respect for the dean of Aries College. As a patrol, he didn't participate in the affairs of the various academies. However, this dean of Aries College took the initiative to challenge Wang Feng and was defeated in a few moves. Although he was defeated, he still had some vigor. It was a pity that this dean of Aries College was only rank 92. His abilities were average. After resting for a day in the Martial Soul Temple in Star Luo City, Wang Feng went to 3 of the remaining 4 sects in the Star Luo Empire. It was worth mentioning that the Martial Soul Temple in Star Luo City was slightly stronger than the Martial Soul Temple in the Heaven Do Empire. Just the Soul Douluo alone numbered 4. There were also 2 platinum bishops and 6 red bishops. The rest of the Soul Masters were also slightly more numerous than the rest. It was probably because the Star Luo Empire was stronger than the Heaven Do Empire that the Martial Soul Temple here was much stronger. Furthermore, Wang Feng guessed that there should be even stronger titled Douluo in the Star Luo Empire. In fact, Wang Feng discovered that the Martial Soul Temples in the Star Luo Empire cities were slightly stronger. This indirectly showed that the Star Luo Empire was indeed stronger than the Heaven Do Empire. Otherwise, the Martial Soul Temple wouldn't be able to suppress them. While patrolling the Martial Soul Temple in the Star Luo Empire, Wang Feng also followed the route to find the remaining 3 sections: the Medicine Spirit sect, the Weapon Cauldron sect, and the Battle Luo sect. These 3 sects were actually very special. They could be said to be of the same lineage. In the end, they were divided into 3 branches, each with their own home. The Medicine Spirit sect is a very special sect. Thomas introduced them to Wang Feng on the Flying Sword. Our Martial Soul Temple doesn't know much about them. We only know that the martial soul of every disciple here is a type of medicinal herb. They're all good at fighting, but they're also very good at cultivating all kinds of medicinal herbs and healing. Thomas paused and continued. Does Lord Popediff know about the 9-hearted begonia? Wang Feng nodded slightly. The description of the 9-hearted begonia in the original book was limited to Yi Lingling from the Imperial Battle Team. In fact, Yi Lingling came from the Medicine Spirit sect. However, the 9-hearted begonia was passed down to only one disciple. She was also a genius disciple in the Medicine Spirit sect. However, the Medicine Spirit sect didn't like the outside world, so they didn't set up an academy. However, this sect was very rich, second only to the 7-treasure glazed tile sect. Hearing this, Wang Feng was stunned. Yi Lingling came from the Medicine Spirit sect? In the original book, Yi Lingling only appeared 2 or 3 times. The powerful healing ability of a nine-hearted begonia was also rarely revealed. He didn't expect her to come from this sect. The relationship between the Medicine Spirit sect and our Martial Soul Temple is more of a cooperation. They give priority to selling the medicinal herbs they cultivate to our Martial Soul Temple. Thomas said in a low voice, "They usually don't sell to other powers. It could be considered a form of attachment to us. However, in reality, they are not under our jurisdiction. The Soul Masters of the Medicine Spirit sect can display great strength on the battlefield. The medicinal herbs they cultivate are very useful to us Soul Masters." Wang Feng nodded. He had a rough understanding of these three sections. There was a reason why the Martial Soul Temple could have so many titled Douluo and nurture so many Soul Masters. They probably had an inseparable relationship with the Medicine Spirit sect. It's also because of this that it's not easy to make them submit. Thomas thought for a while. His Majesty the Pope tried before but failed. If not for the Medicine Spirit sect's great use, His Majesty the Pope would have destroyed them long ago. Towards the end, Thomas lowered his voice. Only Wang Feng could hear it. Wang Feng smiled faintly. It wasn't difficult to make the Medicine Spirit sect submit. To him, it was very simple. Soon, Wang Feng arrived at the Medicine Spirit sect. The Medicine Spirit sect was located in a small valley. It wasn't a rare treasure ground like the Ice Fire, Yin Yang Well. However, it was a good place with rich heaven and earth energy. This valley wasn't big, and it looked like a paradise. The Medicine Spirit sect didn't have a large population, only about 100 people. Only half of them were Soul Masters. In comparison, it was very little. On the entire continent, most of the Soul Masters with healing abilities were here. Furthermore, most of them weren't of high ranks. End of this chapter. Chapter 581. Medicine Spirit Valley was the name of this valley. The strongest sect master, Yao Sun, only had the strength of a soul Douluo. His martial soul was a white-bearded ginseng. His combat power was weak, but his healing power was strong. He was only slightly inferior to the nine-hearted begonia. Yao Sun was about 70 years old, but he looked like a middle-aged man in his 50s. It could be said that he took good care of himself and had an extremely long lifespan. This was another characteristic of the Medicine Spirit sect. Compared to Soul Masters with other martial souls, Soul Masters from the Medicine Spirit sect could generally live about 30 years longer. After Wang Feng had stated his intentions, the Medicine Master smiled in a very good-natured manner. He wasn't as rebellious as Hu Yinzhen, but he was not easy to deal with. "You want our Medicine Spirit sect to completely submit to your Martial Spirit Palace," Yao Sun said with a smile. "Your Holiness Pope Diff, we rarely leave the valley, but we have heard of your deeds recently. To put it bluntly, your strength is much stronger than all of us combined. If we use force, we can't beat you. We have cooperated with your Martial Spirit Palace for many years. So, I don't want to make things difficult for you. As long as you can fulfill any one of the two conditions, our Medicine Spirit sect will completely submit to you." Yao Sun's words were very interesting. He was not talking about submitting to the Pontiff Palace, but submitting to you. Wang Fengxin's heart moved, and he said calmly, "What conditions?" "It's very simple. First, our Medicine Spirit Valley has a medicinal herb called the 10,000-year sea heartflower. It has been cultivated for decades and is about to wither. If you can cure it, you will succeed in fulfilling the conditions. Secondly, our Medicine Spirit Valley also has 100 Herb King, the 7 Emotions, and 6 Desires Grass. Our Medicine Spirit sect has an ancestral rule that whoever can consume this 7 Emotions and 6 Desires Grass and remain undying, insane, foolish, and shedding tears, our Medicine Spirit sect will submit to that person." Yao Sun slowly finished speaking and looked at the white-clothed Pope Diff in front of him. "As long as you can fulfill one of these two conditions, it will be fine." Thomas wiped his cold sweat from behind. He had heard of these two conditions. When His Holiness first visited the Medicine Spirit Valley, it was also these two conditions. His Holiness did not choose the first one at that time, because she didn't understand herbs at all. Therefore, he chose the second option. His Highness the Pope swallowed the grass of 7 emotions and 6 desires. He did not die, he did not go crazy, he did not become stupid, 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 but he did shed tears. In the end, the Medicine Spirit Valley had no choice but to cooperate with them. At that time, Thomas was still with him, along with many cardinals. No matter which of these 2 conditions it was, it could be said that it was difficult to achieve. However, the people of the Medicine Spirit sect were just that stubborn. If they couldn't do it, killing them would be useless. Wang Feng chuckled after hearing that. Others might not be able to fulfill these 2 conditions. But to him, it didn't seem difficult at all. All right, let's go first. Take me to see your 10,000-year sea heart flower. Wang Feng said slowly. Thomas, you guys wait for me here. There's no need to follow me. Okay. Thomas nodded. Yao Sun was slightly taken aback, but he didn't say anything. He brought Wang Feng to a medicinal field. The quality of the herbs cultivated by the Medicine Spirit Valley was all right, but no matter how hard they were cultivated, they were far inferior to the herbs cultivated naturally in the ice-fire yin-yang well that gathered the essence of heaven and earth. The 10,000-year sea heart flower was the only immortal-grade herb cultivated by the Medicine Spirit Valley. One could imagine how rare it was for Tang San to encounter the ice-fire yin-yang well and find so many immortal herbs without any setbacks. Wang Feng glanced at the 10,000-year sea heart flower. This flower was somewhat similar to the 9-heart begonia. It had many uses. It could increase a soul master's cultivation speed, especially water-type soul masters. It could purify a soul master's soul power and make it purer. It could also cleanse one's marrow and body. It could be said that it had various effects. As an immortal herb, it definitely had many uses. However, at this moment, this 10,000-year sea heart flower had already withered. To be precise, it was because the energy of heaven and earth here was not enough to cultivate this 10,000-year sea heart flower. Immortal herbs could only grow for a long time in certain special environments. Otherwise, they would wither very quickly. Logically speaking, it was really not easy for the Medicine Spirit sect to cultivate this immortal herb for so long. Turn around and walk further away. Come back in 5 minutes. I will return you a fresh 10,000-year sea heart flower. Wang Feng said calmly. Only he and Yao Sun were in the nearby herb field. The other disciples of the Medicine Spirit sect had other matters to attend to and did not follow them. Yao Sun looked at the white-robed Popetiff hesitantly. After thinking for a while, he realized that this immortal herb was already withered and did not have much use. He could not think of anything else. Thus, he followed Wang Feng's instructions and walked several hundred meters away. Wang Feng did not say anything and directly used his golden lotus to quickly heal this 10,000-year sea heart flower. His golden lotus could even mature immortal herbs. It was simply too easy to heal this kind of immortal herb. Now that there was no one around, no one would know. He would tell Thomas and the others later. He would just say that he used a special method and knew about immortal herbs. He just needed to know how to heal it. 5 minutes later, Yao Sun walked over. When he saw the fragrant immortal herb, he was stunned on the spot. It was like a dream. Unbelievable. Actually, before he even turned around, he already smelled the medicinal fragrance that he had not smelled in a long time. Ever since the sea heart flower had withered, he had never smelled that kind of medicinal fragrance that could make people go crazy. It's really healed. Yao Sun rubbed his eyes hard. How is it? Wang Feng said indifferently. The golden lotus's ability was unimaginably powerful. How'd you do it? Yao Sun said in disbelief. It's a secret. Wang Feng shook his head. All right, don't you have another condition? Let me see the 7 emotions, 6 desires grass. At this time, Yao Sun quickly said, no need. 2 conditions. As long as you fulfill one, our Medicine Spirit sect will keep our word. You don't need to consume the 7 emotions, 6 desires grass anymore. Their Medicine Spirit sect cared a lot about their reputation. Naturally, they would not go back on their words. However, Wang Feng said, no, I need it. For me to see it. Didn't your Medicine Spirit Valley submit to me now? I order you to bring me to see the 7 emotions, 6 desires grass. Yao Sun was sweating profusely as he looked at the white-robed Pope Tiff. What kind of strange person is this? He actually wants to take the initiative to consume the 7 emotions, 6 desires grass? That's very dangerous. Yao Sun had no choice but to bring Wang Feng to another herb field. Although it was called a herb field, in reality, there were no herbs. Instead, there were countless withered grasses. In the middle of the withered grasses, there was a herb with 7 leaves that looked like a green foxtail. It was quietly growing in the herb field. Before he even walked in, Wang Feng could already feel a lonely aura. This 7 emotions, 6 desires grass was discovered by our medicine spirit sect's founder a few hundred years ago. Its medicinal age is very short, only 44 years. In a chapter. Chapter 582. Yao Sun pointed at the grass of 7 emotions and 6 desires and said, "There are no herbs that can grow around it. As long as you get close to it, you will immediately wither." Rumor has it that after consuming the grass of 7 emotions and 6 desires, you will experience the 7 emotions and 6 desires of the mortal world. No matter how strong one's will is, after consuming it, they will be stimulated by the taste and reveal all kinds of ugly behaviors. Its negative effects are far greater than its positive effects. Yao Sun sighed softly. Back then, after our founding master discovered and consumed the grass of 7 emotions and 6 desires, he established this rule for our medicine spirit sect. As long as someone is able to consume the grass of 7 emotions and 6 desires without being affected, it means that this person has already transcended the mortal world and is a celestial being. Our medicine spirit sect will naturally have a bright future if we submit to such a celestial being. After hearing this, Wang Feng laughed secretly. This was the logic. This founder was obviously very smart. This 7 emotions, 6 desires grass was not something that ordinary soul masters could consume. According to Wang Feng's perception, this herb contained extremely terrifying negative energy. Once consumed, one's spirit power would be instantly destroyed. The richer the experience and the more complicated the emotions of a soul master, the harder it was to consume it. Only those with a pure heart and soul can consume it. Isn't this referring to me? Wang Fengxin thought to himself. Of course, there was another reason why Wang Feng wanted to consume this 7 emotions, 6 desires grass. A few years ago, your martial spirit halls, His Majesty the Pope personally came and consumed this herb. Yao Sun continued, "Your Majesty the Pope is really powerful. He endured the 6 emotions and 6 desires and was not affected at all. But in the end, he shed tears and then left." Wang Feng thought for a while. Bibidon probably recalled some past events because of the herb. Death of love. He couldn't hold it back, so he was affected. However, Bibidon was able to withstand it with his powerful spirit power. It was not easy. "Are you sure you want to consume it?" Yao Sun looked at Wang Feng. After so many years, it would be bad if something happened to the only person who could cure the 10,000-year sea heart flower. Nonsense. Wang Feng walked over and lifted the mask slightly. Without saying anything, he directly plucked the 7 emotions, 6 desires grass and swallowed it. Immediately, the power of the blood tattoo was activated. The moment he swallowed it, the medicinal power of the 7 emotions, 6 desires grass transformed into countless different emotions that attacked Wang Feng's mind. Wang Feng snorted. 7 emotions and 6 desires. The so-called 7 emotions were happiness, anger, worry, thinking, sorrow, fear, and shock. The 6 desires were related to the 7 emotions. Different emotions and desires battered Wang Feng's heart. Wang Feng said that his soul was pure, and that was true. The red lotus karmic fire had tempered his body, and his soul was truly pure. It was impossible for such desires and emotions to destroy his spirit. However, Wang Feng had indeed seen many things that he had never seen before. He saw quite a few girls who were dressed seductively. They were bouncing around, trying to seduce him. They even said that they would serve him together. Of course, Wang Feng knew that this was fake. It was too fake. It was not real at all. Therefore, he was very angry. He was so angry that he directly kicked them one by one and sent them flying. Wang Feng also saw himself becoming a god, going to a different world, and seeing the Douluo world 10,000 years later. Wang Feng also saw many other scenes. However, Wang Feng's soul, which had been tempered by the Red Lotus hellfire, was not affected at all. After looking at it, Wang Feng felt that the 6 blood traces on his body suddenly lit up. It was obvious that they were absorbing the countless chaotic emotions. At the same time, the 7th blood trace also lit up and grew rapidly. Seeing this, Wang Fengxin smiled. Sure enough, swallowing the 7 emotions, 6 desires grass could strengthen the power of the blood traces and cultivate the dark angel martial soul. What surprised Wang Feng the most was that the 7th blood trace had also begun to strengthen slowly. The 7th blood trace was very special. Because it had absorbed the death god domain, its cultivation had been very slow. Wang Feng did not know what was going on. Unexpectedly, after swallowing the 7 emotions, 6 desires grass, and experiencing the impact of various emotions, it began to grow crazily. The 7th blood trace was extremely important. It was related to whether the original Sin domain was formed or not. It was also related to the complete eruption of the blood trace's power. It would definitely produce an even more powerful increase. One must know that the consumption of Wang Feng's blood trace's power was extremely great. Whether it was his mental power or soul power, it would be greatly consumed. Otherwise, Wang Feng would not have consumed so much energy when he fought with the sword Dalu. If the 7th blood trace was completely awakened, Wang Feng had a hunch that the side effects would disappear. Moreover, there would be an even stronger increase. Therefore, Wang Fengxin was pleasantly surprised when he saw the 7th blood trace growing rapidly. This was also the reason why Wang Feng had to swallow the 7 emotions, 6 desires grass. However, it was a pity that the 7th blood mark stopped when it was just a little bit away from the heart. On the other hand, the remaining 6 blood traces had become thicker and stronger. Back then, I cultivated for 2 years and only managed to open 6 blood traces. Now, I can almost cultivate the 7th blood trace in an instant. It's not bad. The strength of the remaining 6 blood traces has also increased. I'm satisfied. Wang Feng was not greedy. The strengthening of 6 blood traces meant that the increase in strength when he activated the blood trace's power would be even stronger. The harvest was huge. After absorbing it, Wang Feng nodded in satisfaction. After thinking for a while, he walked up to Yao Sun, who was still in a daze. Do you still have the 7 emotions, 6 desires grass? Yao Sun, what do you mean? Do you want to swallow another one? Yao Sun swallowed a mouthful of water and said in a trembling voice, No, no more. It's extremely difficult to cultivate the 7 emotions, 6 desires grass. We only managed to cultivate 1 in the past few years. Wang Feng was silent. The golden lotus might not be able to cultivate the 7 emotions, 6 desires grass. It required some special nutrients. These nutrients had nothing to do with the energy of heaven and earth. Just like the yearning, heartbroken grass, it required a special method to activate. The golden lotus could not mature this herb that required special nutrients. What a pity. Wang Feng shook his head. Yao Sun suddenly knelt down and said in a low voice, From now on, the medicine spirit sect will submit to you without any objections. Wang Feng waved his hand and said, You don't have to be so courteous. You have to submit to the martial spirit palace, not me. Don't say such ambiguous words in the future. Yao Sun was stunned. His eyes flashed, and he nodded slightly. Outside the herb field, Hulaina and Thomas were waiting anxiously. It wasn't until he saw the pharmacist respectfully leading Sir Poptif out that he heaved a sigh of relief. Everyone from now on, the herbal sect will completely submit to the martial spirit palace. Your Highness Poptif is truly miraculous. Not only was he able to cure my sect's 10,000-year-old sea heart flower, he was also able to swallow the grass of 7 emotions and 6 desires without being affected in the slightest. He is truly a celestial being. My medicine spirit sect is sincerely convinced. Celestial beauty? Wang Fengxin said. I, Wang Fengxin, have the bearing of a great emperor. So what if you have the bearing of a celestial? Thomas and Hulaina were stunned when they heard Wang Feng's words. Shortly after, they sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at Wang Feng in shock. P.S. I've finished the 10th update. Good night, dear readers. Don't forget to vote. End of chapter. Chapter 583. Pope's Palace. Pa! BB Don slammed the table and stood up as he listened to the red-robed bishop's report. He really made the medicine spirit sect submit? BB Don asked in a deep voice. His eyes were filled with shock. According to Thomas's report, that's the case. Huyan Jun has also returned from the forest in the extreme north. He also reported that the medicine spirit sect has submitted to the martial spirit hall. The red-robed bishop said respectfully. BB Don was silent for a moment before he sat down slowly. Very good. If he can make the medicine spirit sect submit, then the remaining 2 sects should be no problem. Pass down my order. Tell Pope Tiff to return to the Pope's palace as soon as he finishes his inspection. I will personally crown him. The red-robed bishop was slightly taken aback. He nodded and walked down. Inside the spacious hall, BB Dong's face was filled with surprise. It seems like you have brought me more surprises than this. From making Huyan Jun submit to him, to demonstrating against the imperial family of the Heaven Do Empire, to fighting 2 titled Dalu to a draw until now, when he heard that the medicine spirit sect had also submitted to him. BB Don knew how stubborn the people of the medicine spirit sect were. Not only did Wang Wu cure the medicine spirit sect's 10,000-year sea heart flower, but he also consumed the 7 emotions 6 desires grass without any changes. This was something that even she couldn't do back then. I forgot that Wang Wu absorbs all kinds of emotions to cultivate. He is born unable to feel any emotions. This 7 emotions 6 desires grass has no side effects on him. BB Don thought. Suddenly he thought, that must be why I dared to consume the 7 emotions 6 desires grass. What a strange person. The heavens are really helping me by allowing him to join the martial spirit hall. The remaining 2 sects shouldn't be a problem for him. BB Don was extremely smart. Even though he wasn't present, he could analyze the situation. In fact, it was just as BB Don expected. After the medicine spirit sect submitted, the remaining 2 sects wouldn't be difficult for Wang Feng. The Qi Cauldron sect was located in the southern part of the Douluo Empire. This sect was quite interesting. It was originally called the Weapon Cauldron sect, but later it changed its name to the Qi Cauldron sect. The disciples of this sect mainly had tool martial spirits, and none of them had beast martial spirits. Furthermore, he had only inherited 1 cauldron-type martial soul, the profound Qi Cauldron. He knew how to use some of the more ancient cauldron refining techniques. Combined with his soul skills, he could strengthen all kinds of sharp weapons, and even increase the strength of all kinds of tool souls, as well as refining all kinds of heavenly materials and earthly treasures. It was quite different from traditional casting. They were not good at forging, only at strengthening and modifying. Compared to the medicine spirit sect, the disciples of the Qi Cauldron sect were much stronger. As the sect master, Qilianshan was also a soul Douluo. He was only a hair's breadth away from becoming a titled Douluo. The various armors and weapons of the temple knights of the martial spirit palace were all modified by them. In terms of usefulness, it was naturally not small. However, their cauldrons could not even compare to the universal cauldron. Furthermore, their cauldrons had been passed down for so many years that they had mutated. They no longer had a pure Xian Qi Cauldron martial soul. Similarly, the Qi Cauldron sect also made a request. First, they wanted to find the secret treasure they had forged back then. Second, they wanted to refine a piece of rare 1,000-year-old blood essence iron. Wang Feng discovered that the Qi Cauldron sect foundation was very strong. This was because the Qi Cauldron sect was located in a rare natural mineral vein. There were many special and rare ores inside. Once these ores were fused into various armors and weapons, they would be greatly strengthened. It was also because of this that the Qi Cauldron sect was listed as one of the 4 lesser sections. Apart from their strength, they also had special strengthening and modification abilities. At the same time, they could greatly enhance their tool souls. Qi Lianshan's martial soul was called the 100 Smelting Cauldron. It was also a rare cauldron-type martial soul. Its defense was extremely strong. Out of the 8 soul skills, 7 of them were related to forging. They could refine all kinds of rare metals. This was a little similar to the Clear Sky sect. However, the Clear Sky sect was more of an offensive force. Their method of forging was step by step. First, they relied on hammers. Second, they relied on cauldrons. Actually, our Qi Cauldron sect is not inferior to the Clear Sky sect. Qi Lianshan was full of arrogance as he spoke. Wang Fengxin laughed secretly, but did not refute him. Qi Lianshan was a burly man. He was about 60 years old and had dark skin. When Wang Feng first saw him, he thought that he was from Africa. After taking a closer look, he realized that this burly man from Africa was slightly bleached. His big white teeth were very eye-catching. His face was full of sideburns. Sect Master Qi's tone is still so arrogant. Ha! Thomas laughed awkwardly behind him. The Martial Spirit Hall knew how strong the Clear Sky sect was. You said that you were not inferior, but as a member of one of the 4 lower sects, where did you get your confidence from? I know that the Martial Spirit Hall doesn't believe me. Qi Lianshan said arrogantly. About 100 years ago, our Qi Cauldron sect only passed down one cauldron called the Mystic Qi Cauldron. I'm sure you've heard of it. This cauldron can defend against the Clear Sky Hammer. The Clear Sky sect passed down the disorder splitting wind hammer technique. I'm sure you've heard of it, right? Hearing this, Wang Feng nodded slightly. Of course he knew. Not only did he know, but he also knew how to use it. However, you definitely don't know that our Qi Cauldron sect once passed down a technique called the 108 Stages of Mystic Qi Cauldron Control. It specializes in countering the Clear Sky Hammer. Qi Lianshan had a nostalgic look on his face. It was as if he was recalling the glory of 100 years ago. This Mystic Qi Cauldron Control technique is profound and powerful. Once it's used, it can refine items that can't be refined in the world and defend against attacks that can't be countered in the world. The more Qi Lianshan boasted, the more arrogant he became. However, Wang Feng shook his head. If there really was such a special technique, it was impossible that the original work didn't mention it. At the very least, it would have some reputation. However, Wang Feng had never heard of it. There was a high chance that Qi Lianshan was just boasting. His ability to bluff was comparable to mine. Then, Sect Master Qi, can you help us cover up your Mystic Qi Cauldron Control technique? Thomas asked with a smile. It just so happens that His Holiness Pope Tiff is here. Last time, when His Holiness came, you said that you hadn't learned it yet. Several years have passed. You should have learned a little, right? Qi Lianshan's face turned red when he heard this. He waved his hand and said, "This technique is very profound. Moreover, it has been lost for a long time. I didn't have the chance to comprehend it. Sigh, I know that you think I'm boasting. After all, our Qi Cauldron sect is only one of the 4 lower sections. Compared to the Clear Sky sect, the number 1 sect, we are far inferior. However, you don't know that many years ago, this technique really did exist. However, later on, the Clear Sky sect produced many geniuses. They developed the Clear Sky Hammer and made the disorder splitting wind hammer technique famous. However, our Qi Cauldron sect didn't have anyone to pass down this technique to, and no one was able to learn it. Even the authentic Mystic Qi Cauldron martial soul wasn't passed down. Time flew by, and that's why we ended up in our current situation. Not many people have even heard of its name. End of chapter. Chapter 584. The more Qi Lianshan spoke, the more silent he became. Toward the end, he could only sigh. Actually, if what Qi Lianshan said was true, then it was possible. Wang Fengxin thought. It was too difficult to master the chaotic cloak technique. Other than Tang San, not many disciples of the Clear Sky sect knew how to use it. It was too difficult. It would probably be lost in a few hundred years. It could refine items that could not be refined and defend against attacks that could not be blocked. If it was true, it was enough to show that the profound Qi cauldron controlling technique was even more difficult to cultivate. Even the Qi cauldron martial soul had evolved over time. Qi Lianshan's Qi cauldron was not an authentic Qi cauldron, but a 100 refinements cauldron. However, the Qi cauldron sect was still one of the 7 great sects. However, the 108 practices of Qi cauldron control technique correspond to the chaotic cloak hammer technique. It really does exist. Qi Lianshan shook his head and said, "Forget it. Let's not talk about this anymore. Lord Popetiff, I've already stated my conditions. It's up to you to fulfill them." Wang Feng thought for a moment, but did not reply. The Qi cauldron sect's 2 conditions were quite troublesome. The first condition was to find a secret treasure. How long would it take to find it? The second condition was even more troublesome, to find a piece of blood iron essence. Although his cauldron of heaven and earth could be connected, it could only be used to refine soul crystals. Any natural treasures or rare ores would be refined into pure energy soul crystals. Unless Wang Feng had a special refining technique that would allow him to completely control the cauldron of heaven and earth. Lord Popetiff's martial soul is also a cauldron. Could it be related to your Qi cauldron? At this moment, Hulaina's heart skipped a beat as she whispered. Qi Lianshan was stunned. He shook his head and said, "The cauldron of heaven's martial soul does not come from the Qi cauldron sect. It has nothing to do with our Qi cauldron. However, if I can see it with my own eyes, I can help Lord Popetiff appraise how powerful your cauldron of heaven's martial soul is." When he said that, a proud smile appeared on Qi Lianshan's face. As the sect leader of the Qi cauldron sect, he had done a lot of research on cauldron martial souls. Of course, no matter what kind of cauldron type martial soul, it definitely can't be compared to our profound Qi cauldron. After all, our Qi cauldron sect's mysterious Qi cauldron was a top-notch martial soul that was comparable to the clear sky hammer. Regarding this point, Qi Lianshan was truly confident. Wang Feng didn't know where Qi Lianshan's confidence came from. Incomparable? Wang Feng said calmly. "Sect Master Qi, how about this? Let's not mention your request for now. If my martial spirit is more powerful than the profound Qi cauldron you speak of, how about your Qi cauldron sect directly submit to the martial spirit hall? If you think that my martial spirit is inferior to your profound Qi cauldron, then I will take them and leave. I will never mention the matter of surrendering." Qi Lianshan was stunned and couldn't help but laugh. "Then, Your Holiness Popetiff, you may have to leave. It was the profound Qi cauldron martial soul. Although the Qi cauldron sect had already been lost and wasn't well known on the continent, the profound Qi cauldron. However, Qi Lianshan knew that this was the king of cauldrons. Among the tool spirits, it was comparable to the clear sky sect. How could there be a martial soul stronger than the profound Qi cauldron? At this moment, a scarlet light shone, and Wang Feng turned his hand. The heaven and earth cauldron suddenly appeared. An ancient and mysterious aura slowly emanated from the cauldron. There were countless runes engraved on the surface of the cauldron, which seemed to contain the principles of heaven and earth. With a single glance, one would be deeply attracted. This cauldron couldn't be carefully examined, because the patterns on the surface of the cauldron were too complicated. If one looked closely, they would be affected by the ancient aura emitted by the heaven and earth cauldron. The longer one looked at it, the more one would be immersed in it. Qi Lianshan was stunned the moment the heaven and earth cauldron appeared. This cauldron, the 100,000-year soul, ring-dyed the heaven and earth cauldron a scarlet color, adding to its mysteriousness. Sect Master Qi, have you appraised the heaven and earth cauldron? Wang Feng continued. The heaven and earth cauldron, formed by the chaotic green lotus, was a treasure. Even if the people of Douluo world couldn't recognize it, Qi Lianshan, who considered himself an expert in cauldron martial souls, could feel the power of the heaven and earth cauldron. Qi Lianshan didn't speak. His eyes were fixed on the heaven and earth cauldron as if he had seen something incredible. Bang! Wang Feng's soul power slowly flowed out and the heaven and earth cauldron slowly solidified. It landed on the square and let out a muffled groan. Almost at the same time, all the cauldrons in the Qi cauldron sect trembled. It could be said that 10,000 cauldrons were resonating in unison. These patterns, Qi Lianshan walked in front of the heaven and earth cauldron and stroked its patterns. These patterns, Qi Lianshan's eyes glowed with infatuation. It was as if he was a car lover who had seen a limited edition sports car in the world. This cauldron, the more Qi Lianshan touched it, the more shocked he was. In the end, he couldn't even speak. Then, Qi Lianshan released his martial soul. The 100-refined cauldron was similar to the bronze cauldron Wang Feng had seen in his previous life. The surface of the cauldron was very rough and only had a few flame patterns carved on it. In front of the mysterious heaven and earth cauldron, it was like a fourth-rate star meeting a world-class superstar. They were on completely different levels. Qi Lianshan was speechless. After a long time, he bitterly smiled. Lord Popetiff, your heaven and earth cauldron is a cauldron-type martial soul that I have never seen before. Just its aura alone is much stronger than my sect's profound Qi cauldron. Moreover, it is extremely profound. I am unable to make an accurate judgment. However, when the heaven and earth cauldron appeared, my sect's 10,000 cauldrons resonated together. This is enough to explain everything. 10,000 cauldrons resonated together. Hearing this, Hulaina and the others seemed to feel honored and smiled. However, Qi Lianshan was still hesitant. Conditions, right? Wang Feng thought for a moment and decided to give a try. I don't know about your sect's lost secret treasure, but my cauldron can also refine it. Give me the 1,000-year blood iron essence, and I will give it a try. Qi Lianshan nodded. In fact, when he saw the cauldron, he had nothing to say about submitting. The cauldron's aura was too grand and ancient. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that Qi Lianshan was omniscient about all the cauldron-type martial souls in the continent. However, he had never seen such a mysterious cauldron-type martial soul. The patterns on the cauldron's surface were even flowing slowly, as if they represented the changes in the world. Actually, our sect's lost secret treasure is a dagger. It was modified by our sect's ancestor. It is extremely sharp, but it was lost more than 10 years ago. It is indeed impossible to find it. Qi Lianshan sent someone to fetch a piece of 1,000-year-old blood iron essence and said, "However, Your Holiness, although this cauldron of yours is mystical, it requires the special techniques of our Qi cauldron sect to refine it. You don't know, the Clear Skies sect used hammers to forge. Qi Lianshan, on the other hand, used special soul power techniques to refine all kinds of rare materials. The profound Qi cauldron controlling technique was the most profound technique. It was as famous as the wild splitting wind hammer technique. It could be used to fight enemies and also to forge." End of chapter. Chapter 585. A dagger? A thought crossed Wang Feng's mind. He suddenly took out the god-slaying dagger that he had obtained from the capital of slaughter. "Is this the dagger?" Wang Feng asked. The god-slaying dagger belonged to the shadowless assassin in the infernal slaughterhouse. It was extremely sharp and could easily cut through Wang Feng's skin. Even many 10,000-year-soul beasts couldn't resist the sharpness of the god-slaying dagger. When Wang Feng obtained it, he played with it for a while and felt that it was indeed extraordinary. It should have been specially forged. After that, he didn't use it much. This is the god-slaying dagger. Qi Lianshan was stunned when he saw the dagger. "Lord Popetiff, how did you get this god-slaying dagger?" He took the dagger and looked at it carefully for a moment. Then he burst into laughter. "Ancestors above, I've finally found this dagger." Qi Lianshan was even more excited than when he saw the cauldron of heaven and earth. "Lord Popetiff, this dagger seems to belong to the shadowless assassin," Hulaina said in surprise. "I didn't expect you to keep it. It's actually a treasure of the Qi cauldron sect." Hulaina had seen the battle between Wang Feng and the shadowless assassin, so she naturally recognized the dagger. Wang Feng nodded. "Sect Master Qi, isn't it just a dagger? Do you need to be so surprised?" Thomas sized up the dagger. Although he could feel that the dagger was extraordinary and could be considered a divine weapon, it was still a very powerful weapon. But to the Qi Cauldron sect, a divine weapon shouldn't be much, right? You don't know this. Qi Lianshan wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes, his face overflowing with joy. Do you know why the Xian Qi Cauldron controlling technique I mentioned before was lost? Aside from the fact that no one could comprehend it, there was another reason. The technique was sealed in this god-slaying dagger. After a generation, dozens of years, the Xian Qi Cauldron controlling technique was lost without a trace. We've been looking for this god-slaying dagger for a long time to find the Xian Qi Cauldron controlling technique. Even if no one can comprehend it, we can't let this technique be completely lost. Qi Lianshan sighed. Hearing this, Bishop Thomas understood why he made such a request. It was related to the legacy of the sect. On the other hand, Wang Feng was curious. Could it be that the people from a Qi Cauldron sect also read the Heavenly Sword and Dragon Saber? Learning from the Heavenly Sword and the Dragon Saber and putting those XX secret manuals into these divine weapons. Could it be that he was also a transmigrator? Or could it be that these sect elders all like to play this kind of game? Lord Pope Tiff, the fact that you've helped us find the god-slaying dagger is already a great favor to our sect. Qi Lianshan carefully held the god-slaughtering dagger and said solemnly, even if you didn't complete the other condition, we wouldn't have submitted to the martial spirit palace. However, as long as you have a request, our Qi Cauldron sect will definitely not refuse. Wang Feng waved his hand and said, how about this? I'm interested in your Xian Qi Cauldron controlling technique. You said that the god-slaying dagger has that technique. Can you take it out and let me have a look? There was nothing he could do about it. Qi Lianshan had boasted a bit too much just now, so Wang Feng was a bit interested. No problem. Qi Lianshan nodded. As he spoke, Qi Lianshan suddenly threw the god-slaying dagger into his 100 refinements cauldron. Following this, Qi Lianshan's 8 soul rings lit up one by one. Then, they revolved around the 100 refinements cauldron, and he quickly slapped the cauldron several times. After a short moment, the soul power fluctuations within the cauldron started to change and emit bursts of light. Almost every time Qi Lianshan slapped the cauldron, the 100 refinements cauldron would tremble violently. After a short moment, a faint red light rose up and the god-slaying dagger disappeared. Only a pitch-black strip of cloth floated out of the cauldron. Qi Lianshan pulled the strip of cloth out of the cauldron, and the joy on his face increased. As expected, I'll refine the god-slaying dagger. This is the Xian Qi Cauldron controlling technique. Wang Feng was speechless. It's that simple. However, Wang Feng couldn't use the cauldron of heaven and earth to refine it. The cauldron of heaven and earth had returned to its origin, so the god-slaying dagger would probably turn into a soul crystal. Wang Feng still didn't know how to use the cauldron of heaven and earth. Yes, Lord Pope Tiff. Take a look. However, this technique is extremely difficult and requires my sect's Xian Qi Cauldron as your martial soul. You won't be able to learn it. Qi Lianshan gave the black cloth with the Xian Qi Cauldron controlling technique engraved on it to Wang Feng. This technique had been lost for so long, so when he glanced at it, he felt like he was reading a heavenly book. Therefore, he wasn't afraid of others seeing it. Unlike the disorder-splitting wind hammer technique, the Xian Qi Cauldron controlling technique had more requirements. The Xian Qi Cauldron controlling technique is very strange when used. A soul master doesn't even need to move in the slightest to control the cauldron and refine the materials. It can be said to be extremely profound. Qi Lianshan said with a smile. Wang Feng took it and carefully examined it. The black cloth was densely packed with white words. There were probably some chants and techniques, but there was no explanation. However, after reading it, Wang Feng was stunned for a moment. Lord Pope Tiff? Qi Lianshan looked at the motionless Wang Feng. At that moment, a disciple of the Qi Cauldron sect walked over with a wooden tray. On top of the tray was a piece of iron that emitted the color of blood. Sect Master, the 1,000-year blood iron essence is here. Qi Lianshan took the 1,000-year blood iron essence. This was an extremely rare material in their mind. It was specially used to refine divine weapons. You can leave. Qi Lianshan hesitated for a moment. This 1,000-year blood iron essence was extremely difficult to refine. If he wanted to refine it into blood essence, he would need to use the 100 refinement cauldron for half a month to refine it into a fingernail-sized piece. It was impossible for outsiders to do it. But now, at that moment, the white-robed Popetiff, who was still in a daze, suddenly sucked the 1,000-year blood iron essence into the cauldron of heaven and earth. Then, Qi Lianshan saw a shocking scene. The cauldron of heaven and earth shook violently. Every time it shook, a layer of light bloomed around the cauldron of heaven and earth. Countless patterns slowly lit up. The sound of the vibration was as if someone was knocking on the cauldron. At the same time, the cauldron of heaven and earth suddenly floated in the air. Every time it shook, it would draw an arc. As the cauldron of heaven and earth shook, the sound of the cauldron resonated throughout the entire Qi cauldron sect. However, the white-robed Popetiff did not move at all. He just stood there silently. However, the cauldron of heaven and earth seemed to be being violently hammered and refined. This is the true 108 refinements of Xian Qi cauldron control. Qi Lianshan looked on in horror. How is this possible? The Xian Qi cauldron control technique requires the Xian Qi cauldron martial spirit to use it. Moreover, it is extremely difficult to comprehend. The requirements are very high. How can someone learn it in such a short time? This was too inconceivable. If it was someone outside the sect, they might not understand what this meant. However, as the sect master, he naturally knew what this meant. This is too amazing, Qi Lianshan muttered. End of chapter. Chapter 586. Sect Master Qi. Is this your sect's Xian Qi cauldron controlling technique? Thomas was surprised. It doesn't seem difficult. Lord Popetiff learned it after seeing it once. As expected, this Qi Lianshan was just bragging, right? Qi Lianshan's face flushed red. He said in a deep voice, Bishop Thomas, you're not a member of my sect. You don't know how difficult it is to learn the Xian Qi cauldron controlling technique. Sai, forget it. You people outside the sect won't understand. Thomas smiled. Hulaina and the other two didn't understand either. Just like how they didn't understand how difficult it was to learn the disorder-splitting windhammer technique. They walked a different path. It's fine as long as it's powerful. Evil Moon muttered, it doesn't matter if we understand it or not. Yin nodded. Lord Popetiff was indeed powerful. His cauldron martial soul was so powerful that even Qi Lianshan felt inferior. Now, he had learned the Qi cauldron controlling technique. They didn't know anything else, but if it was someone else, they definitely wouldn't have been able to do it. In the past few months, Lord Popetiff had displayed strength, courage, wisdom, and knowledge. They couldn't help but admire him. Soon, in less than a few minutes, a glittering blood iron essence appeared from the cauldron of heaven and earth. It was about half the size of a fist. It's a 1,000-year blood iron essence. Qi Lianshan's pupils contracted. He actually finished refining it in such a short amount of time. I'm afraid this isn't something that can be done with just the Xian Qi cauldron controlling technique. It should be related to the cauldron of heaven and earth. The blood iron essence fell into Wang Feng's hand, and he handed it to Qi Lianshan. Sect Master Qi, are you satisfied? Qi Lianshan's hands trembled as he received the blood iron essence. He was so excited that he couldn't speak. You really learned the Xian Qi cauldron controlling technique? Qi Lianshan asked in a trembling voice. Wang Feng was silent. How could it be said? Wang Feng had indeed learned it after reading it. The Xian Qi cauldron controlling technique wasn't complicated. However, the conditions were very harsh. The reason why many people couldn't learn it was simple. The Xian Qi cauldron controlling technique required mental strength. Moreover, one's mental strength had to reach an unimaginable level to be able to use it. To put it simply, the water droplets that were condensed from his spiritual energy could only be used when his spiritual energy had reached a similar level. This was a hard and fast condition. It was just like how the sunflower manual required one to castrate oneself before one could learn it. The profound Qi cauldron controlling technique also required mental strength to reach this level before it could be used. Wang Feng guessed that the person who had created the profound Qi cauldron control technique was most likely an expert who was born with terrifying mental strength. He was also the founder of the Qi cauldron sect. However, he might have created this profound Qi cauldron controlling technique in his entire life, but he did not create a method to cultivate the mind. As a result, it was difficult for his descendants to cultivate the profound Qi cauldron controlling technique. Even if some of his descendants were talented in mental energy, they would not be able to reach the level of their ancestor. That was why the Qi cauldron sect had declined generation after generation. Because in this world, there was no way to cultivate mental energy. If Wang Feng hadn't obtained the Qian secret art and cultivated his soul and psyche, condensing his psyche into water droplets and forming his divine sense, he probably wouldn't have been able to learn it. This profound Qi cauldron controlling technique does have many powerful functions. Wang Fengxin thought to himself, by bombarding the cauldron with mental strength and shaking the soul power inside, each shake can greatly change the structure of the materials inside and remove impurities. If I cultivate this technique, the cauldron of heaven and earth will have many uses for me. It won't just be refining all the heavenly treasures into soul crystals. The cauldron of heaven and earth could refine all kinds of heavenly treasures into the purest energy source and soul crystals for soul masters to cultivate. However, it also eliminated the other effects of many heavenly treasures. There were pros and cons. If Wang Feng used the profound Qi cauldron controlling technique, he would be able to shake out the toxins and negative effects of many heavenly treasures and retain their original effects. He would be able to maximize the use of these heavenly treasures. At the same time, he would be able to freely refine all kinds of weapons and armor and improve their quality. The effects were naturally great. It could also increase the efficiency of the cauldron. Back when he was in the extreme north, there was a high chance of failure when he fused with the soul bone. Wang Feng was lucky back then and succeeded. He was lucky. Now that he had learned the profound Qi cauldron controlling technique, he could almost achieve this stable fusion. Moreover, the fusion of soul bones was not limited to the same type of soul bones. He should be able to fuse with other soul bones as well. It was likely that the Qi cauldron sect would not be able to fuse with soul bones. This was because their cauldron was not the cauldron of heaven and earth. It did not have such powerful abilities. Wang Feng even suspected that when he cultivated to a higher level, this cauldron of heaven and earth might even be able to fuse and refine living creatures. Refine monsters? Refine beasts. It can also repair all kinds of divine weapons, Wang Fengxin pondered. This was the ability recorded in the profound Qi cauldron controlling technique. However, in terms of function, the profound Qi cauldron controlling technique was indeed not inferior to the disorder splitting wind hammer technique. Especially when combined with his cauldron of heaven and earth, it could be said that it had developed the ability of the cauldron of heaven and earth to a great extent. This was an unexpected gain that Wang Feng had not expected. Moreover, the profound Qi cauldron controlling technique was also a special defensive technique. Similar to the disorder splitting wind hammer technique, the disorder splitting wind hammer technique was also a powerful offensive technique. At this moment, Qi Lianshan suddenly knelt down in front of Wang Feng and said in an extremely solemn voice, "From today onwards, the Qi Cauldron sect will completely submit to the martial spear hall. We will not be disloyal." Wang Feng did not say anything when he saw this. However, Thomas was overjoyed. Hu Laina and the other two were also overjoyed. At this point, the Qi Cauldron sect had completely submitted. However, Qi Lianshan was more shrewd. He directly said that he would submit to the martial spear hall, but he did not say that he would completely submit to Wang Feng. Given the abilities that Wang Feng had displayed, it was possible that the Qi Cauldron sect had truly submitted to him and not the martial spirit hall. After leaving the Qi Cauldron sect, Wang Feng continued to patrol the various large cities in the Star Luo Empire. About half a month later, Wang Feng arrived at the last of the four lower sects, the Battle Luo sect. This sect was the opposite of the Qi Cauldron sect. It was a beast martial soul sect that focused on fighting. Zhang Xiaodian came from this sect. However, he left the sect and joined Ares College later on. According to Thomas, the dean of Ares College and the sect leader of the Battle Luo sect had been a couple at the very beginning. Originally, they were both from the Battle Luo sect. However, due to differences in ideals, they separated. One of them founded the Battle Luo sect, while the other founded Ares College. They did not interact with each other. They even fought against each other and created all sorts of soul skills to counter each other. It was the same even now. After hearing this, Wang Feng thought to himself, aren't they Wang Chongyang and Lin Chaoying? However, although they seem to have a deep relationship, the Battle Luo sex conditions are not troublesome at all. End of chapter. Chapter 587. The Battle Luo sect was the strongest among the four lower sections. They were also the only sect that had a titled Dalu. The sect leader of the Battle Luo sect, Zhan Outyin, was a rank 94 titled Dalu. His martial soul was the Golden Giant Ape, an extremely powerful soul beast. The other disciples of the Battle Luo sect all had similar powerful beast souls. However, the Battle Luo sect's request was the simplest. All he had to do was to defeat the entire sect one by one. Logically speaking, this wasn't difficult for Wang Feng. It wasn't difficult for Bibi Dan either. However, why didn't Bibi Dan force the Battle Luo sect to submit to him? Wang Feng was very curious about this. The other two sects had special requests that Bibi Dan couldn't fulfill. He could only force the two sects to submit to the Martial Spirit Hall. However, the Battle Luo sect's request wasn't difficult. With Bibidan's abilities, it wasn't difficult for him to fulfill it. It was only after Wang Feng defeated the entire Battle Luo sect that he learned the reason from Zhan Ao Tian. Our sect's ancestral teachings. We'd rather die than submit to a woman. Wang Feng was speechless. The Battle Luo sect's ancestor was probably a straight man. He was really a pair of enemies with the person who founded the Ares Academy. However, it was also because of this that Bibi Dan couldn't make the Battle Luo sect submit to him. Until now, the four lower sects had completely submitted to the Martial Spirit Hall, or rather, to Wang Feng. The original Elephant Armor sect had returned from the extreme north a month ago. They had successfully solved the problem of Hu Yin, Li's martial soul. At this point, there was only half a month left until the 5-year agreement. Little San should have left Heaven Dose City by now, right? Wang Fengxin thought to himself. He had to admit that this patrol was completed. Wang Feng had a clearer understanding of the powers on the continent. He also had a detailed understanding of the Martial Spirit Palace's strength on the surface, so he had a rough idea. Other than that, Wang Feng had also gained a lot. For example, the 7 kill sword technique and sword chi of the old Jian master. He had also swallowed the grass of 7 emotions and 6 desires in the medicine spirit sect, which had almost awakened his 7th blood vein. The other 6 blood veins had been strengthened, and he had learned the Xian Qi Cauldron control technique in the Qi Cauldron sect. Furthermore, he had become Bibidan's confidant. He became the 2nd leader of the Martial Spirit Palace. Now his name, White Pope Tiff, had shaken the entire continent. Aside from the Supreme Sky sect, Wang Feng had been to the 7 great sects and 2 great empires. The Clear Sky sect seemed to have 2 titled Dalu, and one of them was a transcendent Dalu. Wang Feng felt somewhat regretful that he could not go to the Supreme Sky sect. However, when he thought about this experience, he felt that it was sufficient. After all, Wang Feng had already learned the disorder-splitting wind hammer technique. Hence, to Wang Feng, there was not much meaning in going to the Supreme Sky sect. However, if he went there, he might meet the mistress again. Moreover, Bibi Dan also sent a message asking Wang Feng to quickly return to the Pope's palace, saying that they had something important to discuss. Evidently, Bibi Dan wanted to discuss some of her plans with Wang Feng. With Wang Feng's perfect ending to this patrol, Bibi Don would not have any more doubts. At this point, Wang Feng led the four of them back to the Pope's palace. Clear Sky Sect. Beside the cliff of a chained iron bridge, there were obvious traces of a battle on the chain bridge. Many of the iron chains had been broken. From time to time, gravel would fall from the surrounding cliffs. On the other side of the iron bridge, a few elders and a middle-aged man with a rough face were watching with serious expressions. One of the elders looked a little displeased. His entire body was in tatters. Evidently, he had just been through a battle. After a brief moment, a figure walked up from the edge of the cliff below. This figure was Tang San. The 8-spider spear gently pierced into the stone wall of the cliff and quickly lifted Tang San, who was covered in wounds. When he reached the ground, he withdrew the 8-spider spear, which was already full of cracks. Seeing this figure, the elder with a displeased expression slowly relaxed. He snorted coldly and said, "If you agree to a bet, you must accept your loss. I agree to let you acknowledge your ancestors." Standing on the ground, Tang San, who was stumbling, revealed a pale smile. Half a year ago, the appearance of the white-clothed Pope Diff made Tang San even more motivated. He graduated from the Moon Pavilion a month earlier. In less than a year, he successfully graduated from his aunt's school and returned to his father's side. At the same time, he also learned about his mother's situation. His mother was a 100,000-year-soul beast, the Blue-Silver Emperor. Back then, the Pope of the Martial Spirit Hall chased after his death. In the end, his mother appeared and gave the soul ring to his father. Because of this incident, his father was unable to recover from the setback. He was depressed and lived a dispirited life in the Holy Spirit Village. After learning about this, Tang San was even more furious. He was even more determined to make the Martial Spirit Hall his enemy. At the same time, Tang San also obtained the 100,000-year soul bone left behind by his mother, the Blue-Silver Emperor's right leg bone. He also obtained the 2 inherited soul bones that originally belonged to the Clear Sky Sect. He also followed his father's guidance and came to the Clear Sky Sect. He met his uncle, the Roaring Sky Douluo, and many elders. Among them, there was even a titled Dalu, the 7th elder. They didn't acknowledge his existence and even insulted him. Tang San challenged the 7th elder, the Blazing Sun Dalu. However, the Blazing Sun Dalu only used half of his strength. In the end, Tang San relied on his extraordinary strength, 2 domains, the 8 spider spears, and twin martial souls to defeat the Blazing Sun Dalu, who almost broke the rules. I'm still too weak. The 2nd elder, the Blazing Sun Dalu, is only rank 92. If the white-clothed Pope Tiff appeared, I'm afraid I would be defeated in a few moves, let alone be beat on. Tang San sighed in his heart. It was so difficult to defeat a rank 92 titled Dalu who only used half of his strength. It was almost impossible for him to go against the Martial Spear Hall. However, to the people of the Clear Sky Sect, Tang San's performance was enough to shock them. Seniors, can I ask my father to return to the Clear Sky Sect now? Tang San looked at the elders of the Clear Sky Sect and asked. When Tang Hao married his mother, the sect leader of the Clear Sky Sect, who was also Tang Hao's grandfather, did not object. Unfortunately, they provoked the Martial Spirit Palace, which led to the Martial Spirit Palace attacking the Supreme Sky Sect, bringing disaster upon themselves. Tang Hao was expelled from the Clear Sky Sect. After that, Tang Hao, who had high hopes, never returned to the Clear Sky Sect. He was directly expelled. No. The 2nd elder shook his head and said. 2nd uncle, Tang Xiaodian frowned. Lil, 3 has already proven his strength and potential. The Clear Sky Sect needs a leader now. You know my temper and character. It's very difficult for me to lead the Clear Sky Sect out of its current predicament, let alone go against the Martial Spirit Hall. Recently, the white-clothed Pope Diff's name has spread across the continent. He's very powerful, even more powerful than second brother. If this continues, the 2nd elder waved his hand and said in a deep voice, I know that. Tang Hao can't do it anymore. This child is outstanding, but it's not enough. I know what you mean. You want Lil 3 to inherit the Clear Sky sect, but I don't believe it yet. The second elder sighed softly when he said that. After the previous sect leader of the Clear Sky sect passed away, he was the most senior person in the Clear Sky sect. End of chapter. Chapter 588. What do I have to do? Tang Xin asked solemnly. I can give up the Clear Sky sect, but I want my father to acknowledge his ancestors and come back to pay respects to my grandfather. My father has always felt guilty about this. The second elder said slowly, Little San, I know the hatred in your heart. Not only do you want your father to acknowledge his ancestors, but you also want to take revenge, right? The Martial Spirit Hall has a grudge against you, so it naturally has a grudge against the Clear Sky sect. But you know nothing about the Martial Spirit Hall's strength. The second elder paced back and forth a few steps. He continued, Do you know how many branches the Martial Spirit Hall has on the continent? How many Soul Masters are above rank 30? How many are above rank 50? How many Soul Douluo are there? How many titled Douluo are there? I know a little. It's a number you can't imagine. Now that the white-clothed Popediff has appeared, he has a mysterious background and is unimaginably powerful. In the Martial Spirit Hall, he's probably second only to the Pope and the Great Consecrator. But he's very young and is far more powerful than your father at his age. He's also a strong enemy. Tang San was silent. He naturally understood this. Although the white-clothed Popediff didn't show up, he sounded very young. So, I hope you can fulfill 3 requirements before considering these. The second elder said slowly. First, you're 20 years old now. Before you're 28 years old, you must become a Soul Douluo. Second, you must kill a titled Douluo of the Martial Spirit Hall within 8 years. Third, you must obtain a 100,000-year soul ring. If you can fulfill these 3 requirements, it means you're qualified to inherit the Clear Sky sect and have the ability to resist the Martial Spirit Hall. The 3 requirements were each more exaggerated than the previous one. Tang Xiaotian and the other elders all felt that it was ridiculous because it was too exaggerated. However, after a moment of silence, Tang San grinned. This is nothing. The second elder, Little San, this requirement is extremely difficult. Tang Xiaotian reminded him. There are almost number 28-year-old Soul Douluo on the continent. How difficult was it to kill a titled Douluo of the Martial Spirit Hall? How many titled Douluo had a 100,000-year soul ring? I don't think it's very difficult. Tang San shook his head and said, Eldest uncle, second elder, do you know? There was one person who was close to rank 50 before he was even 15 years old. He had all black soul rings, and his 4th soul ring was a 60,000-year soul ring. He could even take on 2 titled Douluo alone, and he could even defeat them. I haven't heard any news that these 2 titled Douluo are still alive. He single-handedly defeated the Continental Elite Soul Master Tournament more than 5 years ago and became the single-person champion. He even killed the Soul Douluo of the Martial Soul Hall. Tang Xiaotian was stunned, and so were the rest of the elders. I presume that you all know who he is. He is Jioi Kai. His real name is Wang Feng. I have known him since I was young. Tang San had a nostalgic look on his face. Second elder's 3 conditions seemed difficult. Big brother Feng could do half of it when he was 15, so why can't I do it when I'm 28? Now, I know that he is definitely not dead. He was either imprisoned in the Martial Spirit Palace, or he was definitely still in some corner of the world. But no matter what, these are the facts. So, second elder, I'm confident that I'll be able to fulfill the conditions that you've mentioned within 5 years, or even shorter. After hearing this, everyone stared at Tang San, dumbfounded. They knew about Jioi Kai. After all, the news had spread across the entire continent. But Jioi Kai single-handedly defeated 2 titled Douluo. They didn't know about this. The Martial Spirit Palace didn't release this news. After all, there were too many secrets about that battle. The Martial Spirit Palace couldn't possibly reveal them. Shrek and the others who were present at that time didn't spread the news either. Because the Martial Spirit Palace had already given Jioi Kai a verdict and recognized him as the champion, they couldn't spread the news. At this moment, The people from the Clear Sky sect looked at each other when they heard this news. They didn't know what to say. Is Jiao Kai really so powerful? Tang Xiaotian couldn't help but say, I thought that it was already unbelievable that he could become the champion of the Continental Elite Soul Master Tournament single-handedly. Little San, was there another situation when you competed in the Pope's Palace? Tang Sen nodded and recounted what happened back then in detail. The Clear Sky sect and the Martial Spirit Palace were enemies, so Tang Sen didn't have to worry about telling them. As expected of Pope Bibidon, the second elder snorted after hearing this. Jiao Kai's talent is too exaggerated. The seventh elder couldn't help but click his tongue. He's not even at the 50th rank, but he defeated two titled Dalu single-handedly. No wonder the Martial Spirit Palace didn't tell anyone about this. If they did, their reputation would be tarnished. What a pity. Tang Xiaotian shook his head. It was a pity that Jiao Kai couldn't possibly be alive. According to Tang San's description, Jiao Kai was left in the Pope's Palace in the end. There was no way he could have survived. Brother Feng must still be alive. However, Tang Hao said firmly, he will definitely appear in the 5-year agreement. His voice echoed around the cliff for a long time. Martial Spirit City, Pope's Palace. Bibidon personally placed the silver crown that belonged to Pope Diff on the head of the white-robed Pope Diff. For a moment, all the holy knights, the knights of the Pope's Palace, the 5 platinum bishops, and dozens of red-robed bishops knelt down and kowtowed. The solemn and dignified appointment ceremony was finally completed. The white-robed Pope Diff had already been recorded in the annals of the Martial Spirit Palace. He had become a figure with real power. The Martial Spirit Palace could not help but look askance at the 4 lower sects that had submitted to him. This kind of ceremony naturally required the presence of many important figures in the Martial Spirit Palace. As the representatives of the Martial Spirit Palace, Hulaina and the other 2 were naturally present. The 3 of them looked at him with incomparable reverence in their eyes. In the past year, the 3 of them had watched the white-robed Pope Diff visit all the Martial Spirit Palaces in the 2 empires. It was as if they were witnessing history. At this moment, they actually felt a heavy sense of mission as witnesses. Especially Hulaina. At this moment, her admiration and worship for the white-robed Pope Diff had reached the peak. If counting the time, Hulaina had known this Wang Wu for 3 years. From the white-robed Reaper to the white-robed Pope Diff. The emotional change brought about by that kind of experience was something that many people could not experience in their lifetime. In the end, Bibidon dismissed everyone except for Wang Feng. Wang Wu, I have never valued a person so much. Although Bibidon's voice was still dignified, it was somewhat amiable. Her eyes were full of appreciation as she looked at the new Pope Diff in front of her. The test of a year was still vivid in her mind. Wang Feng was calm and did not seem to feel anything. Bibidon did not care. She knew the situation of the other party. Next, I have a plan. I want to start this plan. You are indispensable. Bibidon had a faint smile on her face. What do you want me to do? Wang Feng asked directly. I'm a little interested in your plan. Bibidon turned around and walked to the desk. She took out a stack of documents and handed them to Wang Feng. She said slowly, it's very simple. I need you to play a person. This is his information. Who? Wang Fengxin was shocked. 9-1 open. You also want to be a spy? Wang Fengxin was speechless. P.S. There'll be a few more later. End of this chapter. Chapter 589. Bibidon's plan shocked Wang Feng. Acting as myself? Brilliant. Wang Feng couldn't help but praise Bibidon's plan. At the beginning, Wang Feng even thought that Bibidon had guessed his identity. But after thinking about it, it was impossible. If Bibidon had guessed his plan, he would have called a bunch of titled Douluo to attack him when he returned to the Pontus Palace. How would he crown him? Furthermore, thinking about it carefully, Bibidon's plan shocked Wang Feng so much that he broke out in cold sweat. 9-1. Wang Feng took the information and pretended to glance at it. I've heard of this person during my year of inspection. I heard that he was the solo champion of the Continental Elite Soul Master Tournament 5 years ago. He passed the tournament all by himself. Something special seemed to have happened in the Pontiff's palace then. As he spoke, Wang Feng continued to look at the information. The information was very detailed. It included Wang Feng's incident in Nodding City. This person is a rare genius. His talent is terrifying, and his martial soul is strong. He's even stronger than you. Bibidan's voice was light. I've been investigating this person's history over the past few years. I found out that when he was in Nodding City, my martial soul hall had the chance to recruit him. Unfortunately, not everyone has my foresight. Furthermore, I suspect that this person was very intelligent when he was 6 years old. When he was 6 years old, he had a 1,000-year soul ring. He attracted the attention of the hall master of the martial soul hall, Jack. I asked Jack about what happened back then, and found out that this child was just acting. He just wanted to avoid the eyes and ears of my martial soul hall. Bibidan seemed to have a clearer understanding of what happened back then. Even I can't imagine the trajectory of his growth. His martial soul is very changeable. It seems to be able to transform into different forms. Every form is extremely strong. He defeated 2 titled Douluo in the Pontiff's Palace 5 years ago. Until now, he hasn't recovered from his injuries. His strength has been greatly reduced. Bibidan's voice suddenly deepened. He seems to have twin martial spirits, but his first martial spirit has many different forms. It also has an extremely special ability that allows it to enter a special state of battle. It also has a soul bone that is equally powerful and ever-changing. It's even stronger than your sharp blade soul bone. What Bibidan was talking about was naturally the emptiness mirror in the dark nether spike. I'm afraid you can't imagine how a rank 47 soul master defeated 2 titled Dalu. Bibidan shook his head. Fortunately, he's already dead. Back then, I plotted to have the great reverend of the Hall of Elders hunt him down. He was poisoned by the Spider Emperor and has long since turned into a puddle of water. Then this person is indeed quite strong. Wang Feng said, I've never seen a soul master whose talent and martial soul are stronger than mine. Bibidan, however, this person is already dead. What's the point of having me act as him? Wang Feng asked, could it be that you want me to approach his 7 friends? The Shrek's 7 monsters? Or do you want me to kill them? Or do you want me to control them? After hearing this, Bibidan couldn't help but look at Wang Feng with admiration. You're indeed smart. Not bad. This 9 monster's name is Wang Feng. It's a very ordinary name. Wang Feng. He's the monster captain of the Shrek Academy. He's a close friend of the Shrek's 7 monsters. Bibidan continued, I want you to act as him. It's very useful. Of course, I don't want you to kill them. This is more difficult. Although these 5 people aren't very strong, Tang Sen has a top-tier soul master who isn't inferior to me back then. He's the Hao Tian Douluo, and he's protecting him. Among the 7 people, there are 4 that I want. Dai Mubai is the Star Luo Empire's crown prince and the next emperor. Zhu Zhuqing is the leader of the Star Luo Empire's strongest family. Ning Rongrong is the daughter of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect leader. You should have seen her before. Tang San is a disciple of the Clear Sky sect. These 4 people are very important. They're related to the future plans of our martial spirit palace. As for the plans, I'll explain them to you in detail in the conference hall later. Bibidan took out the information of the 4 people and gave it to Wang Feng. As long as we control these 4 people, the Star Luo Empire will be leaderless. The Empire will definitely fall into internal strife. The 7 treasure glazed tile sect's lifeline will be controlled by us. The same goes for the Clear Sky sect. Bibidan continued. 3 of them have deep feelings for 9 monsters. As long as you appear with 9 monsters' appearance, they'll definitely fall in love with you. Bibidan's plan was very good. It could be said that it couldn't be any better. But there's a problem. Wang Fengxin's heart moved. He said slowly, I don't have 9 monsters' abilities. How can I win their trust? Moreover, I look completely different from 9 monsters. His appearance can't be compared to mine. This was the key. Bibidan said calmly, it's true. You don't have 9 monsters' abilities, and his appearance can't be compared to yours either. But these problems are actually very easy to solve. You can say that you escaped death during the battle at the Pope's palace. You used a special soul skill to teleport away from the Pope's palace and traveled thousands of miles to the far north. You recuperated there, but unfortunately, you were poisoned by Bibidon's poison. Your martial soul was destroyed, and your strength was completely crippled. Wang Feng, I have to thank you. You can even find such an excuse. So, if the 7 of them see 9 monsters in this situation, they'll definitely cry and feel guilty. They won't ask any questions at all, because if 9 monsters didn't make a move at that time, Tang San and that soul beast would definitely have been killed. Tang Hao would also have died. Wang Feng was silent for a moment and said, "But how do you explain my current appearance?" "That's even simpler," Bibi Dong said calmly. "Although the northernmost land is extremely dangerous, there are many treasures there. You can say that you have consumed some kind of treasure. Although your martial spirit has been destroyed, your strength has recovered slightly, and your appearance has changed greatly." Wang Feng was shocked. Bibidon's brain worked fast. She had considered all aspects. Yet, she actually managed to make some wild guesses. There's also this. Bibi Don suddenly took out a tattered mask. This is the mask that 9 monsters took off in the Pope's palace. It was lost in the Pope's palace. I've been keeping it, but I haven't found a suitable candidate. But now that you've appeared, you're the most suitable. They must have a deep impression of this mask. They won't doubt you. Wang Feng, you only need to understand 9 monsters' personality and style of speech. Let them believe that you're 9 monsters and Wang Feng. That's enough. This will depend on your own performance. Bibi Don explained everything properly. Wang Feng really admired Bibi Don for being able to think so deeply. Needless to say, it might actually be possible. That was because Tang San and the others did not know about the battle behind the Pope's palace. Even Ning Fengji and the sword Douluo did not see how Wang Feng escaped. They did not know anything about the battle behind. In a chapter. Chapter 590. She only knew that Wang Feng was surrounded and was dead for sure. After that, Wang Feng used his teleportation soul skill and disappeared from the Pope's palace. Bibidon's excuse was that she had seen everything with her own eyes. This Bibi Don was very calculative. As the White Pope diff, no one had seen his face. Only the Pope, Hulaina, and the 7 titled Dalu had seen him. They were all on the same side, so they definitely knew about this plan. Naturally, there was no problem. Wang Feng's face was only shown to them. Also, your aura is too unique. You have to hide it when the time comes. Bibi Dong was very careful and continued. But with your intelligence, I'm sure you'll pay attention to this. Azura King Tang Yin, who was with Hulaina in Massacre City, is most likely Tang San himself. Therefore, it is very likely that you spent 2 years with him in Massacre City. He is very sensitive to your aura. Indeed, Wang Feng's aura was very unique. Bibi Dong was very detailed. No problem, Wang Feng said slowly. I can control my aura. This woman was really scary. Only a few people know about this plan. Don't worry. Bibi Dong suddenly stomped the ground lightly. Next, I need to discuss another plan with you. Come in. Wang Feng nodded. Come, Bibi Dong. Show me all the plans you have. I have been hiding for more than a year just for this moment. However, the person who walked in was none other than Hulaina. But right now, she was wearing the attire of the Martial Soul Hall's Holy Lady. She was very beautiful. Her light red silk clothes were decorated with many gems. She wore a silver princess crown on her head. Right now, she was blushing as she walked over. Laina is my disciple. I will hold a meeting later and announce her as my successor. Bibi Don suddenly said, You two already knew each other in Massacre City. I believe you two have experienced a lot. Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. He had a bad feeling. As expected, Hulaina blushed and looked at Wang Feng, but she did not lower her head. Instead, she openly looked at him. I'll give you 2 choices. First, you assist her. Second, I will give her to you, and you will become the next successor to the Pope. Bibi Don said slowly. After that, the pontiff's palace fell silent. I can tell that Nana likes you. Bibidon didn't seem to be in a hurry to answer. He continued, you've been cultivating alone in the northernmost land. It's impossible for you to have someone you like or get married. Otherwise, you wouldn't be interested in joining the martial spirit palace. It had to be said that Bibidon was very good at reading people's minds. Her thoughts were completely in line with his. Because Bibidon wanted to lock Wang Feng in the martial spirit palace forever, he only needed to marry Hulaina to Wang Feng, and the two of them would be together. By then, it would be impossible for Wang Feng to leave the martial spirit palace. Her identity, status, strength, talent, appearance, and figure are 1 in a million. Bibidon walked to Hulaina and gently held her hand. I've watched her grow up since she was a child. I know her character. Once she falls in love with someone, it's impossible for her to change her mind. She's good enough for you. Indeed, with Hulaina's aptitude and talent, she was completely worthy of White Pope Tiff, and also the position of Pope. Bibidon was very sincere. It could be said that if it was someone else, it would be difficult to refuse. I don't like women, nor do I like men. I only want to become stronger. However, Wang Feng said expressionlessly, I can't feel emotions. I'm an emotionless person. She won't be happy if she stays with me. I choose number 1. I'll assist her. Hearing this, Bibidon's eyes flashed. In fact, she was just testing. Unexpectedly, this Wang Wu was completely untouched. Hulaina's eyes dimmed a bit. She knew that the other party would not choose number 2, because this was his character. All right, Bibidon rarely smiled, but I'll leave Nana to you in the future. She will be the next pope of Martial Spirit Palace. In fact, from a meaning of these words, Wang Feng knew that this Bibidon was very ambitious. The next pope would be Hulaina. Then what about her Bibidon? Naturally, she would want to be the ruler of the entire continent. You two talk for a while. Come to the conference hall later. Bibidon put Hulaina's hand in Wang Feng's hand. Then, Bibidon walked into the conference hall on the other side. Wang Wu, Hulaina suddenly held Wang Feng's hand. Her voice was a bit infatuated. I know you won't choose number 2. But even if I become the Pope, my heart will not change. Can I hug you? In Slaughter City, Hulaina's heart was touched for the first time. It was in the last battle when the other party saved her. But that was nothing. Then in Hell Road, Hulaina's feelings for the white-clothed Grim Reaper in her heart changed. From the original admiration to worship, trust, and favorable impression. Especially after telling the other party about the flaw of her soul bone, the favorable impression turned into liking. Otherwise, she wouldn't have told him about such a private flaw. But this feeling of liking was not strong enough. Especially after knowing that the other party was unlikely to join the Martial Spirit Palace. Hulaina understood that this relationship would not have any results. However, the changes that happened later gave Hulaina hope. Then, the white-clothed Grim Reaper used a powerful victory to convince everyone in the Pope's palace and became the white-clothed Pope Tiff. Then, she followed Wang Wu and traveled to all the major martial spirit palaces in the continent in half a year. The royal families of the 2 empires, the 2 upper sects, and the 4 lower sects either fought to a draw or surrendered. Her name shook the continent. That kind of liking, coupled with the sun and moon following by her side, evolved into true love. Only after 3 years of experience did she have today's love. Wang Feng suddenly felt a little dry. He didn't expect Hulaina's feelings at all. From a rational point of view, Wang Feng shouldn't accept it. Because if he accepted it, even if it was just a hug, it was equivalent to giving the other party hope. At that time, once he was completely exposed, it would be a fatal blow to Hulaina. Thinking of this, Wang Feng suddenly thought of the original work. The current Hulaina and the original work were 2 completely different people. If you don't regret it, of course. Wang Feng said calmly, I can't feel your feelings, sorry. After saying that, Hulaina suddenly pounced on Wang Feng. The plump body of the 20-something-year-old girl fell into Wang Feng's arms, which only made Wang Fengxin feel very complicated. Hulaina wrapped her hands around Wang Feng's back, as if she was greedy for the smell of the other party at this moment. Wang Feng gently pressed his hands on Hulaina's shoulders. You don't need to say sorry. This is all my own initiative. I won't regret it. Hulaina murmured. The time in Hell's Road was the most unforgettable time in my life. These 6 months were the happiest for me. I know that it's impossible for me to forget you. I also know that it's impossible for you to like anyone, but I still don't regret it. End of this chapter. Chapter 591. Wang Feng was silent. After a long time, Hulaina stood back in her original position, blushing. She held Wang Feng's warm hand and walked into the conference hall. Wang Feng shook his head and sighed in his heart. No matter what, I won't let you get hurt. Conference hall. The large oval table was filled with the upper echelons of the martial spear hall. In addition to several titled Dalu, there were also 2 martial spirit hall temple masters, 5 platinum bishops, and more than 10 red bishops. Bibi Dong sat at the top, opposite Wang Feng's seat. Hulaina walked behind Bibi Dong. Her face was still a little red, but she had already regained her calmness. After Wang Feng sat down, Bibi Dong opened his mouth and said, "Today, I will only announce 3 things. First, after the deliberation of the Elder Hall, I, Bibi Dong, will officially confer Hulaina as the Holy Lady of the Martial Spirit Hall, the first successor to the Pope's position. This was something that many people had expected. After Hulaina came out of the city of massacre, the position of Holy Lady was inevitable. Now, she was almost rank 65, and her talent was the best in the younger generation of the Martial Spirit Hall. However, many people thought that White Popediff was Bibidon's confidant and would become the successor, but it seemed that was not the case. Second, Bibi Dong paused. In the past 5 years, I have found the location of the human-shaped 100,000-year-old beast that appeared in the Pope's palace 5 years ago. It is in the Great Star Doe Forest. At the same time, she is transformed into a human and is now in the growth period, so she is weak. However, the Great Star Doe Forest is very dangerous. I will send 7 titled Dalu, led by White Popediff Wang Wu, Chrysanthemum Ghost Dalu, Qianjun Demon Vanquisher Dalu, and Snake Spear Piercing Pufferfish Dalu. In addition, more than 30 rank 70 red bishops, and the Holy Lady will be the leader to capture it. Hearing this, Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. Is it really here? 7, with me as the leader? Bibi Dong is very cautious. Even the Great Ming's second Ming can't handle these 7. If the Bibi Dong came along, it would be even more troublesome. That Soul Master has a close relationship with the Supreme Sky Sect. The Supreme Sky Sect has been in contact with Soul Beasts for decades. Bibi Dong continued, so we have to take it seriously. At the same time, there are likely to be other 100,000-year soul beasts in the Great Star Doe Forest. Everyone must be careful. This matter will be carried out in a month. Several titled Dalu, as well as the red-robed bishops present, stood up to receive their orders. Bibidon's gaze fell on Wang Feng. There was a hidden meaning in his eyes. Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. He guessed that Bibi Dong had other arrangements in this plan, and obviously didn't want to tell these people. Bibidon's gaze was obviously directed at him. Wang Fengxin thought to himself, fortunately, I know the situation, the third thing. At this moment, Bibi Dong slowly opened his mouth and said, "Do all of you still remember how the previous pope was killed several decades ago, and how 2 titled Dalu died 5 years ago? These things serve as a warning to us. There are many soul masters on the continent, and the Martial Spirit Hall is very strong. However, there are bound to be some powerful soul masters who don't like to abide by the rules. They don't respect the Martial Spirit Hall and infringe on the dignity of the Martial Spirit Hall. This situation can't be allowed. To restore the dignity of the Martial Spirit Hall and unify the continent's soul masters, I, Bibi Dong, have decided to carry out a soul hunt. We will severely injure those soul masters who dare to look down on the Martial Spirit Hall. Furthermore, it's time for the 7 sects, especially that sect, to change their positions." Suddenly, there was an uproar in the hall. Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. Is it happening again? This is the soul hunt. Fortunately, it seems like I've infiltrated the Martial Spirit Hall and am able to participate in this opportunity. I wonder how Bibidon will carry out the soul hunt. At this moment, Bibidon's body suddenly released an aura. His cold voice reverberated throughout the entire hall. Silence. This isn't a discussion, it's an order. This is a decision made by me and the Elder Hall. The soul hunt will clean up all the major forces on the continent. At that time, all the martial spirit halls on the continent will listen to the orders of His Highness the Pope. If I find out who dares to mess around, don't blame me for falling out with Bibidon. This soul hunt will be led by me, and Pope Diff will be the second decision-maker. Once it starts, if I'm not around, Pope Diff will have full authority. This was a great authority. Wang Fengxin said. It seemed that Bibidon really trusted him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone to this extent. When all the martial spirit halls on the continent were combined, this would be a terrifying number. Once it was launched, the first sect to suffer would definitely suffer heavy losses. This plan will be launched in half a month. Obviously, the Soul Hunt plan had to be launched as soon as possible. The Blue Lightning Overlord sect and the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect. These two sects will be severely damaged during the Soul Hunt, right? I have a feeling that with the Bibidon I know, these two sects will be destroyed and the imperial families of the two empires too. Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. At this point in time, Bibidon had asked him to play the role of Jiyikai and control Tang San and the others. It could be said that this was the biggest layer of protection, and it was a trump card. How sinister, Wang Fengxin thought to himself. However, fortunately, I've already infiltrated the inner circle and learned of this plan. At the central lake of the Great Star Doe Forest, whoosh, a huge figure suddenly sprang up. This figure was more than 10 meters tall, and its entire body was covered in shiny black fur. It was the Titan Giant Ape. However, at this moment, the Titan Giant Ape was holding a super long, pale golden staff that was more than 10 meters long. Boom! Eat my staff! Ming let loose a roar. The earth seemed to have cracked open, and countless clouds of dust were sent flying into the air within a radius of several hundred meters. Fortunately, this area had already become an empty space, and there were no longer any towering ancient trees around. Beside the lake in the distance, Xiao Wu looked at the overly energetic Ming with a resigned expression, and she sighed toward the center of the lake. How did you know that Ming likes to play with sticks, Brother Foam? It's been 5 years, and Ming has been playing with sticks every day. Xiao Wu sat down on the edge of the lake and looked into the distance with a concerned expression. After the pontiff left, Tang Hao took her and Tang San away. And before Tang San woke up, Tang Hao had her go back to where she belonged, in the Great Star Doe Forest. After returning, Xiao was extremely surprised to discover that Brother Feng had already been here. He had even seen through her identity and established a good relationship with Ming in advance. Back when he disappeared from the Shrek Academy in Heaven Do City for half a year, he had most likely cultivated here with Ming. At the same time, Xiao also heard a lot about Wang Feng's cultivation here during that half a year. Every time Deming mentioned that Brother Feng often sparred with Ming, Xiao could not help but feel a little shocked. End of chapter. Chapter 592. It was no wonder that Brother Feng was so strong. He was already able to spar with Ming at such a young age. Xiao was well aware of just how powerful Ming was. Xiao, when will Wang Feng come here again? Deming emerged from the lake. It's been so many years, but I still miss him. Xiao. She heaved a sigh and didn't know what to say. She didn't know whether Brother Feng was still alive or not, but she had a strong feeling that he was still alive. Yeah, me too. I miss him a lot. That body of his is so durable. At this moment, Ming finished his practice and sat down with a bashful chuckle. His laughter was so loud that it caused the surrounding trees to tremble. Deming, Xiao, I want to go out. Xiao sighed. I have a 5-year agreement with Brother Feng, so I should be able to see him then. No, Xiao, it's too dangerous out there. I saw a lot of strangely dressed soul masters a few days ago, and they seem to be probing around us. I have a bad feeling about this. Deming immediately objected. You can't go out now. Ming nodded. but I won't be able to see Brother Feng. Xiao Wu murmured. Don't worry. Didn't you say that your Tang-san is fine? He'll come find you when he becomes stronger. Deming whispered. If you go out, those people from the Martial Spirit Hall will probably be searching for you. It's too dangerous. Xiao Wu nodded and stared at the distant sky, lost in thought. The 5-year agreement is here. How are you guys doing? Heaven Dose City. Shrek Academy. Shrek Academy was now a renowned academy on the continent. Be it the Shrek's 7 monsters or the legendary Jiu Ikai, they were all from this academy. It wasn't hard to imagine how popular Shrek Academy was right now. However, today's Shrek Academy seemed to be a little special. A man and 2 women slowly walked in from outside. The man was handsome, tall, and had a head full of golden hair. Beside him was a beautiful woman with sky blue hair. Beside this woman, there was another woman with a fiery figure and an extremely cold expression. Her entire body emitted an aura that prevented others from getting close, like an iceberg. However, because this girl was so eye-catching, many students passing by couldn't help but want to look at her. She was too big and too beautiful. Her temperament, appearance, and figure were all top-notch. Compared to the sky blue-haired woman, she was superior. Sister Zhuqing, your Shrek Academy's popularity is really high, much higher than our Tianshui Academy. The woman with sky blue hair leaned against the golden-haired man and said with a smile, Today is the day that the Shrek's 7 monsters agreed to meet. I wonder if all 7 of you will be here? Of course. The golden-haired man's entire body exuded the aura of a king. His every movement carried an aura that made people look up to him. These 3 people were really Dai Mubai, Shui Yuer, and Zhuqing. Soon, they arrived at the square where they had been before. The current Shrek Academy had been expanded several times. The square was extremely large, and there were many students fighting in the square. The 3 of them didn't reveal their identities, but the 2 women attracted the attention of many students. At this moment, a clamor suddenly woke them up. Look at my Phoenix Fire line. In the distance, a fatty could be seen using his soul skill to set the entire plaza ablaze. His opponent was instantly defeated on the ground. Wow, Senior is so strong. Senior is amazing. Are you really Shrek's 7 monsters? Senior, do you have a date tonight? A group of students surrounded the fat man. In an instant, the fatty with a head full of flaming hair was drowned out. There was also a young man with a full beard standing next to him, laughing heartily. This damn fatty. After 5 years, he still can't change his bad habit of being in the limelight. Dai Mubai couldn't help but laugh. The last time I saw them was 3 years ago. They wandered to the Star Luo Empire and even found me to sleep in the Star Luo Imperial Palace. In the past 5 years, Ma Hongjun and Oscar had traveled the continent and visited many places. Naturally, they had also gone to the Star Luo Empire and met Dai Mubai a few times. Zhuqing nodded slightly. It was obvious that they had met before. Oscar, with that beard, you're still pretending to be an uncle. Dai Mubai seemed to have thought of something interesting. When this guy came to my palace, he was taken in by a beautiful, noble lady. After traveling the continent for so many years, his aura has become more mature. Coupled with his looks and beard, he's very attractive to women of a certain age. However, I heard that he found a girlfriend in the Imperial Star Luo Academy. She's also a food-type soul master. She's very talented, and her martial soul is white beer. White beer and grilled sausages are a match made in heaven. Dai Mubai couldn't help but shake his head. At this moment, a clear and melodious voice sounded. What about that fatty? Didn't he find a suitable one? The 3 of them turned around and saw a beautiful girl in a pale white dress slowly walking over. She didn't have many accessories on her, but her hair was neatly combed. She had a smile on her face, and her body glowed faintly. She gave off a noble and elegant feeling, but her aura was very gentle, like a spring breeze. It was Ning Rongrong. Zhuqing was stunned. This is Rongrong's outfit when she first came to the Shrek Academy. Rongrong, long time no see. It's been 5 years, and you've changed completely. Dai Mubai looked at Ning Rongrong and couldn't help but smile. Sister Rongrong, hello. Shui Yuer smiled politely. Ning Rongrong walked to Zhu Zhuqing, and the two of them seemed to be very close. She held one of Zhu Zhuqing's hands and chuckled. Boss Dai, how does it feel to have someone watching over you? Dai Mubai coughed and said seriously, It's wonderful. It's the first time I found someone watching over me. It's so wonderful. I've already fallen in love with this feeling. Shui Yuer blushed and pinched Dai Mubai. Ning Rongrong smiled. At this moment, Oscar and Ma Hongjun walked out from the crowd. Ha ha, Boss Dai. I heard your voice from afar. Although Ma Hongjun was still very fat, his body had grown a lot taller, giving people a rather burly feeling. His temperament was also more stable. It was even more so for Oscar. His eyes were gleaming with wisdom. Everyone, it's been 5 years, Oscar said with a smile. The four of them looked at each other and smiled. Looks like you're all here. In the distance, a figure walked over leisurely. Author's note. End of 10 chapters. Vote monthly. It's only 14th place now. Chapter 593. The clear and bright voice attracted the attention of the four people. Turning around, the four of them saw a handsome blue-haired man slowly walking over. The man had a smile on his face and exuded a mellow and elegant aura. He seemed to be walking steadily, but he was very fast. In just a moment, he was in front of everyone. The five of them looked at the man in front of them and couldn't recognize him. Over the past 5 years, although they had all changed, their general appearance had not changed. Their aura had changed slightly. They were more mature, more beautiful, and more handsome. You are? Ma Hongjun couldn't help but ask. The blue-haired man had a faint smile on his face. He gently opened his palm, and a blue-silver grass quietly bloomed and wrapped around their waists. Seeing this, the four of them were shocked. Blue-silver grass. Furthermore, this tactic was used by the Shrek's 7 monsters in the competition with Tang San as the center. Now that it had appeared again, it felt very familiar. Countless memories surfaced in their hearts. It was as if they had returned to the scene of the competition. Just this small detail seemed to let everyone know who this blue-haired man was. Don't lie. However, Dai Mubai shouted, You want to pretend to be Tang San? I don't believe that Xiao San is so handsome. The blue-haired youth, 5 years ago, Tang San was indeed not handsome. His appearance could only be described as squarish. It had nothing to do with handsome or ugly. It was more ordinary. At this moment, Dai Mubai let out an angry roar, and a huge platinum tiger suddenly appeared on his body. 6 soul rings, yellow, purple, and black, lit up on Dai Mubai's body. Evil Eye White Tiger, rank 63 Soul Emperor. A huge soul power undulation shook the air and directly shattered the blue-silver grass around Dai Mubai's waist. Seeing this, the hearts of the others shook. Damn, Boss Dai, your soul power undulation is already at rank 63, right? Ma Hongjun laughed loudly. But I'm not to be trifled with either. Take my Fire Phoenix Martial Soul. Ma Hongjun also activated his martial spirit possession. A fiery phoenix lit up from his body and let out a long cry before landing on his body. After 5 years of transformation, the fire phoenix looked even more lifelike. The flames on its body had also turned a deep purple and carried a terrifying, scorching aura. After the martial soul possession, Ma Hongjun's body looked even taller and sturdier. He didn't give off the impression that he was fat. He was almost as tall as Dai Mubai. A rank 61 Soul Emperor. Fatty, looks like you've been working hard all these years. Dai Mubai laughed heartily. With your lazy personality, you can actually reach such a stage? Of the 7, Ma Hongjun was the laziest. He didn't put much effort into his cultivation. Originally, Bai Yunfei thought that Ma Hongjun would only break through to rank 56 or 57 after 5 years. Who would have thought that he'd become a Soul Emperor? However, from the looks of it, he had just broken through. The same double yellow, double purple, and double black. Haha, of course. Ma Hongjuan's soul power surged, and his body shook, shattering the blue-silver grass. The blue-silver grass that Tang San released was very thin. This was because he didn't intend to use it for battle. Fatty has been traveling the continent with me all these years. I've been supervising him. Oscar smiled and said, however, he's also considered diligent. After saying that, Oscar also released his martial soul. A grilled sausage with a faint golden glow appeared in his palm. Its outer skin was a fiery red that would greatly increase one's appetite. However, the glow that it emitted was indeed golden. It was rather peculiar. It smells so good, Shui Yuer said in surprise. Oscar, when you came to the Star Luo Empire previously, you treated Mu Bai and me to a meal that you cooked. The martial soul you used back then didn't have such a fragrance? Dai Mu Bai also looked at Oscar in surprise. It changed recently. Oscar smiled and said, the taste has become better. At this moment, Ning Rongrong looked at the golden grilled sausage. She seemed to have thought of something, and tears flickered in her eyes. Back then, when they first met at the Shrek Academy, he was the one who forced the grilled sausage into her mouth. Ning Rongrong remembered it very clearly. It was as if it was still vivid in her mind. Does everyone want to eat? Oscar chuckled. I have a big sausage. Actually, the effect of this incantation on him was already very small. Although it sounded disgusting, it was indeed different in different situations. At this moment, they felt extremely nostalgic when they heard it. I'm not eating. I've really eaten so much in the past 5 years that I've vomited. Ma Hongjun pretended to vomit. Wait for me to expose this imposter Tang San right now. Tang San didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't expect that the first thing that happened after they met was actually a fight. However, after not seeing them for 5 years, they had already become soul emperors. On the contrary, because he was cultivating with Yu Xian in the capital of Massacre, his soul power rank wasn't very fast. He was only at rank 60 now. He wanted to go to the Great Star Do Forest next to obtain his 6th soul ring and find Xiao Wu at the same time. Zhu Zhuqing also frowned slightly and looked at Tang San. Wait, are you really Tang San? That's right, fatty. Wait first. Ask clearly before you act. Ning Rongrong retracted her gaze from the grilled sausage and said steadily. Ma Hongjun scratched his head and said, that makes sense. Seeing this, Tang San heaved a sigh of relief. Immediately after, he turned his left hand and revealed a dark iron hammer. Then, he revealed the 8 spider spear on his back. Once these 2 items were revealed, the 4 of them were immediately speechless. They were all Tang San's signature items. Once these items were revealed, it was clear. It's really third brother. Damn! Ma Hongjun laughed loudly and walked towards Tang San. He withdrew his martial soul and gave him a bear hug. Fatty, your strength has increased in the past 5 years. Tang San felt the strength of the hug and couldn't help but be shocked. Looks like you've been training well. It's just SOSO. Ma Hongjun chuckled. Third brother, your soul power rank doesn't seem to be high. You haven't broken through rank 60 yet, right? That shouldn't be. Tang San smiled slightly. Although his soul power rank wasn't high, his soul power rank wasn't high. In terms of combat strength, he was much stronger. Just by activating his 2 domains, not many soul masters over rank 60 could withstand it. By the way, Rongrong, Zhuqing, what about the 2 of you? Tang San looked at the 2 of them and was silent for a moment. Then he asked, how have you been these 5 years? Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing looked at each other, and the light in their eyes intertwined. I've been in contact with Zhuqing a few times. Ning Rongrong said softly, my soul power rank is at rank 62. Although it was only rank 1, it was obvious that she had worked very hard in the past 5 years. Seventh sister, what about you? Ma Hongjun said with a smile. Don't tell me your rank is lower than third brother's. Zhu Zhuqing was silent. End of this chapter. Chapter 594. Zhuqing might be the strongest among us. However, Dai Mubai shook his head and said, her soul power rank surpassed mine half a year ago. As soon as he said that, everyone was stunned. As the leader of Shrek's 7 monsters, Dai Mubai's soul power rank had always been the highest. Now, he had reached rank 63 and was close to rank 64. How was it possible for her soul power rank to surpass his? After all, Dai Mubai was older and had to cultivate for a few more years. Zhu Qing, Tang Sen looked at Zhu Qing in surprise, a purple light flashing in his eyes. He vaguely felt that Zhu Qing seemed to be a little different. I just broke through to rank 65. After a moment of silence, Zhu Qing spoke softly. The air was very quiet. So high. Ma Hongjun couldn't help but gasp. 2 ranks higher than Boss Dai? How'd she do it? 5 years ago, among the 7 of them, Dai Mubai was 2 ranks higher than the other 6. After these 5 years, he had slightly closed the gap, but he was still not as high as Dai Mubai. But Zhu Qing actually surpassed Dai Mubai by 2 ranks? One had to know that it wasn't so easy to break through to rank 50 and above. In 5 years, she had broken through to rank 22, and she wasn't even a low-level soul master, but a rank 43 soul master. If this happened to other soul masters, it would be unimaginable. Zhu Qing has already used a heaven and earth treasure. Even if she uses it again, the effect won't be so exaggerated. Tang Sen was also a little puzzled. Zhu Qing was younger than him. She was only 19 years old, not even 20 years old. Ning Rongrong was the same. At this age, rank 65 was too scary. I don't know. After that day, I felt that my cultivation speed has been increasing. Zhu Qing shook her head and said, "The further I go, the faster it increases. It's much faster than my normal cultivation." She did not elaborate. Zhu Qing was clear that it was because of her heart. He had given her a new heart, allowing her to reach her current soul power rank. Not only that, but Zhu Qing also felt as if she had an endless supply of soul power during the battle. His body had also been strengthened to a certain extent. Even if Dai Mubai was in his best condition, he still couldn't beat the current Zhu Qing. That day, however, all of a sudden, the crowd fell silent. 2 people were missing from the scene. One of them was Xiao Wu. Everyone knew that she was fine. Tang Sen also knew that Xiao Wu was in the Great Stardow Forest. His father had said that he had visited Xiao Wu before. She hadn't discovered anything and was just waiting for him to find her. And the other one, do you have any news about him? Ning Rongrong's voice trembled. Is he already here? She had waited for this day for far too long. As soon as he said that, the atmosphere became even quieter. Fatty and I have been traveling the continent and have been asking for news. Oscar suddenly said, Sect Master Ning said that he will appear in 5 years, which means that Wang Feng is not dead. He should be in some corner of the continent, but we haven't found any news about him in these years. 5 years ago, Ning Fengji had lied to everyone, including his daughter, saying that Wang Feng would appear in 5 years. But now, today was the appointed day. He didn't seem to have appeared. I've been sending people to look for him. Dai Mubai shook his head and whispered, "There's really no news." Tang Sen was silent. His father had also looked for him, but there was no news. In the past 5 years, Brother Feng seemed to have disappeared. There was no news about him. His father had speculated that Brother Feng was either imprisoned in the Martial Spirit Palace, or Brother Feng escaped from death. But the probability of him surviving was very small. Even if he was alive, it would be extremely difficult for him. It was impossible for him to appear here. Sect Master Ning may have done it for our own good. Ma Hongjuan's eyes were filled with tears. He didn't want us to worry too much and let us leave safely. It was also for you, Rongrong. So, Wang Feng may have really, in these 5 years of traveling and searching with Wang Feng's strength, how could there be no news about him? They naturally understood that Ning Fengji's words were probably a white lie. Nonsense. You're talking nonsense. Ning Rongrong angrily said, Ma Hongjun, I won't allow you to say such things. Zhu Qing's eyes were also filled with tears. Her whole body exuded a burst of coldness. He's not dead. Zhu Qing's cold voice shook his mind. Ma Hongjun opened his mouth dryly. He also wanted to, but the fact was, Zhu Qing is right. Ning Rongrong's tone suddenly eased, and even a little sweetness appeared on her face. More than half a year ago, he came to see me. Zhu Qing also told me that she should have seen him in the star Luo Empire. After saying that, Ning Rongrong suddenly took out 2 wooden carvings. Look, this is what he gave me. Everyone looked at the 2 wooden carvings and naturally recognized them. One of them was Ning Rongrong after using her martial soul fusion skill, and the other was the 6-ring soul emperor who was the master's friend. However, after seeing it, everyone sighed. Rongrong, have you seen Brother Feng? Tang Sen asked silently. In the past, he had guessed that the 6-ring soul emperor was 9 openings. Later on, 9 openings was Big Brother Feng, so the 6-ring soul emperor should be Big Brother Feng. However, Tang San felt that he was the only one who knew this secret. After all, other than himself, no one else seemed to have suspected anything. Of course, Tang San didn't know. That night, Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong separately went to see Wang Feng. I haven't seen him, but he must have done this. Ning Rongrong snorted. He must still be there. There must be some reason why he can't see him. Everyone, this is obviously Ning Rongrong's excuse. Everyone couldn't help but think in their hearts. I believe in Rongrong. Zhu Zhuqing seemed to have returned a half a year ago when she saw that fleeting figure. If Wang Feng was here, he would probably be amazed by this woman's intuition. Because Wang Feng did have some reasons at that time. He didn't want to see her. He was traveling at that time. At this moment, a student suddenly said, "Seniors, you should be Shrek's 7 monsters, right?" These words instantly pulled everyone back from their memories. Ha ha. Yes, little junior brother. I'm Evil Phoenix Ma Hongjun. Do you want an autograph? Ma Hongjun said with a forced smile. The reputation of Shrek's 7 monsters was very well known. Wow, it's really you, the student said in surprise. Then hurry up and give us your autograph. I admire you. The 5 people couldn't help but laugh. Then they signed their names on the back of this junior brother. The student took off his coat happily and looked at it with satisfaction. As if he saw something, he said in surprise, Senior sister, this statue is very familiar. I think I saw it in the forest just now. End of chapter. Chapter 595. He looked at one of the wooden carvings in Ning Rongrong's hands. It was the wooden carving of the 6-ringed Soul Emperor. Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong were instantly stunned. Tang Sen was also stunned. Ma Hongjun, Oscar, and Dai Mubai hadn't reacted yet, but at this moment, they vaguely guessed something. Yu, where did you see it? Ning Rongrong asked with a trembling voice. She could feel her heart pounding. Her heartbeat was even faster than when she saw the 2 wooden carvings. It's in the small forest over there. The student hesitated for a moment and pointed to the forest in the distance. Swish! Almost instantly, Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing rushed in that direction. The others quickly followed. What's going on? Ma Hongjun was puzzled. Why are Rongrong and Zhu Qing so excited? Isn't this 6-ringed Soul Emperor Grandmaster's friend? Why are they so surprised? Could it be that he's Brother Feng? That's right. You might not know. Tang San quickly walked towards the forest while explaining that 6-ringed Soul Emperor is 99% Brother Feng. Zhu Qing and Rongrong had already discovered it a long time ago. They probably noticed it back then. I also guessed at that time, but I guessed that this 6-ringed Soul Emperor had a 9, 1 chance. Later on, the 9, 1 chance turned out to be Brother Feng. Hearing this, the others understood. They still had a deep impression of that 6-ringed Soul Emperor. If that's the case, then it was Wang Feng who was with us in the setting sun forest. Ma Hongjun couldn't help but smile bitterly. Thinking about it, other than Wang Feng, who would be so powerful? After hearing this news, the group quickly went to the small forest that the student mentioned. Everyone was very familiar with this small forest. It was the place where they often cultivated. In the middle, there was a small lake, a wooden house, and a garden outside. At this moment, a figure was standing quietly by the lake. White robe, black mask. It was the complete opposite of the black-robed and white-masked 9-1 open. This was also one of the reasons why Tang San suspected that the 6-ringed Soul Emperor was 9-1 open. 5 years had passed, But this six-ringed Soul Emperor didn't seem to have changed at all. Wang Feng. Seeing this figure, Ning Rongrong couldn't help but shout excitedly. Zhu Zhuqing, who was at the side, suppressed the excitement in her heart and almost rushed over. He had finally appeared. She knew that nothing would happen to him. That back view was so familiar. Zhu Zhuqing's eyes were hazy with tears, her whole body trembling slightly. The others also looked at each other, their eyes filled with joy and shock. Ning Rongrong suddenly rushed over. But when she was halfway there, the six-ringed Soul Emperor turned around and said in a calm voice, "Don't worry. Stop, you got the wrong person." As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Rongrong stopped abruptly, and the rest of the group walked over as well. Zhu Zhuqing grabbed Ning Rongrong first. "I'm just here to look for the master." The six-ringed Soul Emperor said lightly, "I didn't expect you guys to come here. I haven't seen you for more than 5 years. It seems that you guys have been living well." Wang Feng. "Sorry, I'm not him." Ning Rongrong, "You've got the wrong person. I have nothing to do with the Wang Feng, you know. And didn't the Martial Spirit Palace make an announcement a long time ago? Wang Feng is 9-1 open. He's already dead." As soon as he finished speaking, everyone looked at him in astonishment. "Impossible, you must be Wang Feng. Have you forgotten the secret between you and me that night?" Ning Rongrong's face was full of disbelief. Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing and Tang San were both shocked. They thought, could it be that they also looked for Brother Feng that night? "I don't know about the secret, but Ning Rongrong, think about it carefully. The Wang Feng you mentioned, did he admit that he was me?" The six-ringed Soul Emperor shook his head. Hearing this, Ning Rongrong's body trembled. She suddenly remembered that she was just guessing that night. Wang Feng didn't seem to admit anything. He was very silent until she left. He didn't really admit it. She was just self-righteous and thought it was a secret between them. Could it be? At the same time, Zhu Zhuqing and Tang San were also shocked, especially Zhu Zhuqing. Her situation was almost the same as Rongrong's. With her keen intuition, she thought that the six-ringed Soul Emperor was Wang Feng. But in fact, they didn't hear Wang Feng admit it personally. There was no evidence at all. It was just their intuition. At this time, Tang San suddenly said, "More than 5 years ago, Senior, you gave us profound guidance in the Sunset Forest. The 7 of us benefited a lot at that time. Is it possible for Senior to give us some pointers now?" As soon as he said that, Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong reacted instantly. Obviously, Tang San wanted to use this method to test whether the other party was Wang Feng or not. If the other party was Wang Feng, as long as they fought a little, they would be able to find out everything. If that wasn't the case, then they were imagining things and guessing wrongly. It was all a misunderstanding. "Senior, can you give us some advice again?" Ning Rongrong stared at the other party. She didn't believe that the other party was definitely Wang Feng. But if it was really him, why did he hide it? Was there any reason why he couldn't admit it? Ning Rongrong's heart trembled again. The air was slightly silent. "I can't beat you. Forget about the advice." The six-ringed Soul Emperor coughed twice. "Senior, you are too modest." Tang San quickly said, "More than 5 years ago, you could beat us without using your martial soul and soul power. Now you must be stronger." Indeed, more than 5 years ago, the 7 of them had no power to fight back in front of this six-ringed Soul Emperor. "Cut the crap. Take this." Ma Hongjun didn't say anything. He directly possessed his martial soul and rushed toward the six-ringed Soul Emperor. Whoosh! In the next moment, the six-ringed Soul Emperor suddenly disappeared. His speed was so fast that it made people's hair stand on end. He kicked Ma Hongjun, who was rushing toward him, away. "I really can't beat you." "Forget it," the six-ringed Soul Emperor said after a moment of silence. Ma Hongjun got up from the ground and looked at the other party with a face full of dirt. "There are no soul power fluctuations," Tang San said in a deep voice. "It seems that it's really the six-ringed Soul Emperor. Senior, be careful. Activate your martial soul. Go." Dai Mubai shouted, "He must be Wang Feng. He wants to test our strength 5 years later." As soon as he finished speaking, he took the lead and went out. Although the five of them hadn't seen each other for 5 years, their cooperation was still very good. Several rays of light from Ning Rongrong's 9-treasure star glazed pagoda directly fell on Dai Mubai's body. At this time, Ning Rongrong's enhancement was extremely terrifying. With the power of the 9-treasure star glazed pagoda, the single enhancement was almost 100%. At the same time, Ning Rongrong used the method of distraction to control several rays of light to fall on the other people. Strength, defense, ability, attack, attribute, several different kinds of enhancement directly fell on the 5 of them. Chapter 596. Zhu Zhuqing's U.S. spirit was even more ethereal now, like the moon god in the sky, full of mystery and coldness. After being possessed by her martial soul, her temperament also changed. Her speed was the fastest among them. Tang San's blue-silver emperor appeared around them at the same time. It was full of vitality, giving people a sense of prosperity, but there was also a hint of killing intent hidden within. Oscar's eyes flickered, but he was quickly making all kinds of roasted sausages. His current roasted sausages were full of functions. It had recovery, flight, a 10% increase in all attributes, a 50% increase in attack power, and many other abilities. It also had the most special soul skill. Colorful roasted sausages were quickly made by him and given to the most suitable people. 5 years later, other than Tang San, everyone else had 2 more soul skills, both of which were 10,000-year soul rings. Their martial souls had become stronger, so their strength had naturally become extremely strong. One had to know that from rank 20 to rank 40 to rank 60, although they were all rank 20. But these were 2 completely different concepts. 5 soul emperors, and one of them was Tang San, who was even stronger than a soul emperor. The combat strength that erupted from this kind of strength was very terrifying. Except for Xiao Wu. This was the first time the 6 of them had cooperated in 5 years. There was only one goal: to test if this 6-ring soul emperor was Wang Feng. In the dark forest, Master, Flinder, and Zhao Wuji watched attentively. When Dai Mubai came in, they already knew about it. Xiao Gang, is this person a 6-ring soul emperor? Is he Xiao Feng? Flinder watched attentively. Their teachers naturally knew about the matter of the 6-ring soul emperor back then. From the beginning, they knew that the 6-ring soul emperor was Wang Feng. I don't know. The guard said that this person is here to look for me. If it's Xiao Feng, why would he use the identity of a 6-ring soul emperor? Why not use Wang Feng's identity directly? Master was also very puzzled. In the past 5 years, there has been no news of Xiao Feng. He is indeed very likely to be Xiao Feng. Otherwise, the timing wouldn't be so coincidental. But why would he use the identity of a 6-ring soul emperor to deceive others? Could it be that there's something that's hard to say? Zhao Wuji frowned. You don't want to see Tang San and the others? That makes sense, Flinder said in a low voice. Otherwise, he wouldn't have denied his identity. A 6-ring soul emperor isn't that big of a deal. He probably has something he can't say. What was it? That's why he's unwilling to meet them and even admit his identity. It's also possible that he's an imposter. However, we'll just have to watch this battle. For a moment, the 3 of them looked at each other seriously. It had to be said that the current Shrek's 7 monsters could not be compared to 5 years ago. He was too strong. Tang San didn't make a move. The strongest among them were Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong. Ning Rongrong's amplification was too terrifying. The amplification from a 9-treasure star glazed tile pagoda was one of a kind in the 7-treasure glazed tile sect. The amplification from the 9-treasure star glazed tile sect had increased the strength of the other 5 by at least 2 levels. On the other hand, Zhu Zhuqing's strength was completely reflected in her strong physique and martial soul. Even Tang San was a little shocked. After observing for a while, he realized that Zhu Zhuqing's physique was not weaker than his. She was even stronger. One had to know that he had cultivated with his father for 2 years. His blue-silver emperor had awakened, and he had trained in the City of Massacre for 2 years. His physique was even stronger than a rank 60 agility-type Soul Emperor. However, he couldn't compare to Zhu Zhuqing at all. He couldn't compare to her in terms of speed. Next was Dai Mubai. His evil-eyed white tiger's armor and his third and fifth soul skills were terrifying amplifications to his attack and defense. The overall amplification was as high as 200%. In this state, he was only slightly weaker than Zhu Zhuqing. Ma Hongjun was also a long-range offensive soul master. Most of his skills were long-range attacks. At the same time, he could fly, and his soul skills were very destructive. Furthermore, he wasn't slow. On the contrary, he was very fast. He also had decent close combat abilities. The first to attack was Zhu Zhuqing. Sigh. At this moment, the six-ringed Soul Emperor sighed faintly. After saying that, he suddenly disappeared from the spot. His speed was so fast that everyone was stunned. Too fast. Just like in the forest back then, they could only see an illusion. Zhu Zhuqing's heart skipped a beat, and her soul rings suddenly lit up. Bang! The six-ringed Soul Emperor sent her flying with a punch, but it was only her clone. Swish, swish, swish. The three Zhu Zhuqings attacked from three different directions in an instant. At the same time, the blue-silver grass that had become tougher directly controlled the six-ringed Soul Emperor. The six-ringed Soul Emperor's body shook, and all the blue-silver grass shattered. Seeing this, Tang Sen was stunned. His body, how can it be so strong? It seems that he is indeed a six-ringed Soul Emperor. But is he Brother Foam? With the strength of his current blue-silver grass, even a rank 70 soul warrior couldn't instantly shatter it. He hadn't used his soul power yet. This meant that the other party's body was very strong. It was indeed the same as the six-ringed Soul Emperor back then. His body was terrifyingly strong. But compared to back then, he seemed to be stronger. I'm afraid his physical fitness is at least comparable to that of an assault-type Soul Douluo. Tang Sen pondered in his heart. He's even close to the level of a titled Dalu. Thinking of this, Tang Sen felt a little scared. The strength of this six-ringed Soul Emperor back then was still far from that of a titled Dalu. At this moment, the powerful physical strength of a six-ringed Soul Emperor seemed to be fully displayed. It was quite similar to the battle scene back then. The six-ringed Soul Emperor relied on his strong physical fitness to suppress Dai Mubai and Zhu Zhuqing. At the same time, he dodged Ma Hongjuan's attacks. But as the battle progressed, Tang Sen vaguely felt that something was wrong. Although the strength of the six-ringed Soul Emperor has increased, he doesn't seem to be able to defeat us. He hasn't used his soul power and is still in that special combat state. Once he enters it, his speed will increase explosively and he can defeat us instantly. At this moment, Tang Sen suddenly joined the battle. His current combat strength was also very strong. Even with the 8 Spider Spear and Clear Sky Hammer, he wasn't inferior to Dai Mubai at all. Tang Sen's entry into the battle directly caused the scales of victory to tilt. In addition, although the 6 of them had a tacit understanding, they hadn't fought for more than 5 years after all. Many of their soul skills couldn't be used for the time being, but they were strong enough. Soon, the six-ringed Soul Emperor began to find it difficult to hold on. 8 Spider Spear. Tang Sen's eyes narrowed. At this moment, Ma Hongjun directly used Phoenix Sky Howl in the distance, and terrifying magma shook the ground. At the same time, the 8 Spider Spear on Tang Sen's back and the blue-silver grass locked onto that figure. Brother Foam, aren't you going to take out something real? Tang Sen thought to himself. Chapter 597. Dai Mubai was at the back and Zhu Zhuqing was on the right. The front was sealed off by Ma Hongjuan's attack. It was him on the left wing. The 8 Spider Spear on Tang Sen's back suddenly leaped high and attacked the white figure. Countless blue-silver grass quickly condensed into a blue-blue-silver spear. The spear carried a terrifying aura as it descended towards the six-ringed Soul Emperor. Soul skill, blue-silver Overlord Spear. It was Tang Sen's 5th soul skill, a powerful single-target attack. The six-ringed Soul Emperor saw the spear coming, but he didn't dodge or use any special abilities. He just tilted his body slightly and forcefully grabbed the spear with his hand. Countless bloody wounds appeared on his arm, but he wasn't injured. Oomph. The six-ringed Soul Emperor only let out a muffled groan after receiving the attack. His strong physique seemed to have allowed him to remain uninjured. Shock flashed across Tang San's eyes. He didn't expect the other party to be able to forcefully receive his blue-silver Overlord spear with his physical strength. However, in the next moment, Zhu Zhuqing's purplish-gold claws pressed against the six-ringed Soul Emperor's neck, trembling slightly. Dai Mubai's fist also landed in front of the six-ringed Soul Emperor's chest. However, it didn't completely hit the six-ringed Soul Emperor. Although he forcefully received the attack, the six-ringed Soul Emperor was instantly restrained by the other two's attacks. But right at this moment, the six-ringed Soul Emperor's body suddenly moved. This movement allowed his body to instantly withstand Dai Mubai's punch. At the same time, his shoulder touched Zhu Zhuqing's sharp claws. Zhu Zhuqing wanted to retract her claws, but it was too late. Seeing this, the three of them were stunned. They didn't understand why the other party did this. Then, they understood. Bang, bang, bang. They only felt a special rebounding force coming from the six-ringed Soul Emperor's body, violently shaking away the three people's attacks. Seeing this, the three of them were shocked and quickly retreated a few steps. Immediately after, a huge force attacked them from all parts of their bodies, and the three of them were instantly sent flying. When they flew out, they realized that the other party had deliberately endured their attacks to shake their bodies and counterattack. However, the other party would also be injured. You guys were careless. The six-ringed Soul Emperor's body was tattered. There was a bloody cut on his shoulder and a small bruise on his abdomen. It was obvious that he was attacked by Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Mubai. Although your attacks are very strong, I can't bear with it. The six-ringed Soul Emperor coughed a few times. If you had used your full strength right from the start, I wouldn't have been able to defeat you. The three of them stood, and their hearts were shaken. They thought of their attacks as the other party had obviously seen through this and defeated the three of them in an instant with a single attack. This is it. The six-ringed Soul Emperor waved his hand. I really can't beat you. I'm really not Wang Feng. I'm sure you figured it out by now, right? With Wang Feng's talent, if he didn't die, his strength would have reached a terrifying level after 5 years. He wouldn't have been forced to this extent by you guys. After saying that, the six-ringed Soul Emperor turned around and shook his head. No, you're Wang Feng, Tang San said in a deep voice, just based on the way you broke our attacks just now. You're very similar to Brother Feng. He's the best at studying people's minds in a battle. You saw through our intentions from the beginning, so you used this method to find a fatal opportunity to counterattack. You were waiting for us to attack you together, and then you used a method that normal people couldn't think of to break our attacks. Hearing this, the others nodded. Indeed, Wang Feng's fighting style was like this. He used to break attacks in a way that many normal soul masters couldn't think of. Well, you just need to release your martial soul. Ma Hongjun smiled and said, Captain, why don't you admit it? Release your martial soul and soul rings. We'll see it directly. Your martial soul can't be fake, right? How strong was Wang Feng's martial soul? The mysterious green lotus could transform into several states. How could it be the mysterious beast martial soul he used in the Pope's palace that day? Twin martial souls. It was so strong that it was unique. They could understand it with just a little bit. Wang Feng, quickly release your martial soul. Don't try to fool us. Ning Rongrong said tenderly. I won't let you leave this time. Everyone watched. However, the six-ringed Soul Emperor was silent. He didn't release his martial soul. After a long time, the six-ringed Soul Emperor spread out his hands and sighed. I don't have a martial soul, nor a soul ring. I don't even have any soul power fluctuations. Sorry, you've really mistaken me for someone else. So, I can't be the Wang Feng you know. Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Even Flinder and the other two who were hiding in the dark were stunned. He's really not Little Feng? Flinder murmured. In the battle just now, although his strength was still there, it wasn't ridiculously strong. If he's really little Feng, his strength should have been even stronger in the past 5 years. It shouldn't have been like this when facing Tang, San, and the other 5. If he hadn't forced himself to get injured just now, he would have lost. There's another possibility. The Grandmaster said in a deep voice, he's little Feng, but he might have lost his martial soul and a lot of his abilities. Hearing this, Flinder and Zhao Wuji trembled. In their hearts, Wang Feng defeating the 7 monsters was a piece of cake. It shouldn't have been so strenuous. Moreover, Wang Feng could fight against 2 titled Douluo in the past. Although the 6 of them were Soul Emperors now, they couldn't be stronger than titled Douluo. If they used a little bit of their strength, it wouldn't be so difficult to win. In the past, Wang Feng defeated the 7 monsters with ease. Impossible, Zhu Zhuqing said in a trembling voice. Almost everyone has a martial soul. How can you not have one? More than 5 years ago, when you held me and killed that 10,000-year-soul beast with one punch, there was a very strong soul power fluctuation. Don't try to fool me. Wang Feng, did something happen to you in the past 5 years? Did you lose your martial soul because of the battle in the Pontus Palace? Is that so? Zhu Zhuqing's words instantly made everyone come to their senses. The 6-ringed Soul Emperor was silent. Wang Feng, I don't care if you have a martial soul or not. You're still Wang Feng. Ning Rongrong walked step by step toward Wang Feng. Her voice was slightly sobbing. Do you know how I survived the past 5 years? Even if you have nothing left, I won't leave you again. It doesn't matter if you have a martial soul or not. I don't care at all. I just want to never be separated from you. From everyone. Hearing this, Tang San's heart was extremely complicated. If this is true, then everything makes sense. The other party is 99% Brother Feng. Brother Feng must have been killed by BB Don and the others in the battle that year. He narrowly escaped death, but lost his martial soul because of it. He lost most of his abilities, so he didn't want to leak any information. At that time, Brother Feng didn't exist. Father Xiaowu and I all died there. Brother Feng lost his martial soul because of it. Tang San felt extremely guilty. No wonder he doesn't want to admit it now. He must have lost his martial soul and doesn't want to recognize us. But he remembers today. Stop. However, at this moment, the 6-ringed Soul Emperor seemed to be possessed by a drama queen and shouted, Don't come over. Forget it. I'll make you give up. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. They saw the 6-ringed Soul Emperor suddenly lift his black mask. She revealed a celestial face that made people gasp in amazement. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. They were shocked by the other party's appearance, and even more shocked that it wasn't Wang Feng at all. This was an extremely unfamiliar face. The 6-ringed Soul Emperor slowly said, I said, I'm not Wang Feng. Now, do you believe me? P.S. There are a few more chapters later. Chapter 598. Whether it was Tang San and the others or Flinder and the others, they all stared at the 6-ringed Soul Emperor in a daze. This was an extremely handsome and unfamiliar face. Even Tang San felt that he could not compare to the other party's natural appearance. Impossible, impossible. Ning Rongrong shook her head and murmured, It's really not Wang Feng. I don't believe it. How can there be such a big difference? It was really too big. It was not an exaggeration to say that he had completely changed his appearance. There was no trace of the former Wang Feng on that face. How could he be Wang Feng? This was simply a different person. At this moment, almost no one still believed that the other party was Wang Feng. Now, do you believe it? The 6-ringed Soul Emperor said calmly. You can disguise anything, but you can't disguise your appearance, right? So, you're really mistaken. His calm words were like a windless sea, but it hit everyone's heart. This was something that no one thought of. But at this moment, a voice slowly sounded. Appearance doesn't mean anything. Tang San's appearance has changed so much, but he is still Tang San. The one who spoke was Zhu Zhuqing. She looked at Tang San and asked, Isn't he? Everyone was stunned. Yes. Tang San's appearance had changed a lot too, but he was still Tang San. Yes, Tang San said in a deep voice, appearance can be changed. A martial soul mutation can change one's appearance by swallowing heaven and earth treasures. Appearance doesn't mean anything. His appearance was changed because of the mutation of his martial soul. Swallowing some heaven and earth treasures could also change one's appearance. This was not impossible. But Tang San's appearance is only a part of, Dai Mubai said with a wry smile. Xiao San, the 8 spider spears, and 2 martial souls can be identified. But we can't find any other conditions to identify him as Wang Feng. Fighting style can't prove anything. He may not be Wang Feng. Although Tang San's appearance had changed, there were still other conditions that could be sufficiently proved. Who said he didn't? However, Zhu Zhuqing continued to speak. She looked at the 6-ringed Soul Emperor and said softly, Wang Feng, I know why you don't want to acknowledge us, but we don't mind that. Now, I have something that can prove that you are Wang Feng. Don't try to hide it from us. Hearing that, everyone was stunned again. How could Zhu Zhuqing prove herself? The 6-ringed Soul Emperor looked calmly at Zhu Zhuqing. He didn't say anything, as if he didn't believe her at all. Zhu Zhuqing's right hand slowly took out a broken mask. I secretly took it when I tore your robe when you received my attack. That mask is the mask that 9th Heaven threw away in the Pontiff's palace. I remember it clearly, and you couldn't have been there at that time. Apart from 9 odds, no one else will have this mask. It's impossible for you to have it. But now, it's on you, which can only mean that you are Wang Feng. Everyone sucked in a deep breath. When they saw the mask, they were all stunned. Their eyes lit up one after another. Ha ha ha, Brother Feng, you have nothing to say now, right? Ma Hongjun couldn't help laughing. You were recognized by us in the end. Wang Feng, yes, I was recognized by you in the end. Wang Fengxin said, how to pretend to be himself with the identity of White Pope Tiff. Although the BB Don asked him to pretend to be 9th Heaven, it was very considerate, but in fact he still needed to perform. Just come back and say that I'm Wang Feng. Say that I lost my martial soul for some reason. Say that I swallowed some heaven and earth treasure, and my appearance changed greatly. Obviously, it was easy to be suspicious. It was too much. Wang Feng couldn't show all kinds of martial souls to prove himself. If he did so, the Martial Spirit Palace would soon know that he was the real Wang Feng. Therefore, Wang Feng thought of using the identity of 6-ring Soul Emperor to lead Tang San and the others to think in that direction. I won't say it and let you guess. Since you guessed it, you won't have any doubts, right? Then, he would play hard to get and deny that he was not Wang Feng. In this way, they would naturally think that he was Wang Feng. Sigh, proving that he was himself was really a problem. Sure enough, as soon as the mask came out, it was almost decided. Then he was silent for a while. I will pretend to be myself. Sigh. Why do you? Wang Feng sighed and shook his head. As soon as the words came out, it was as if he had admitted it. Ning Rongrong cried and pounced on Wang Feng. Zhu Zhuqing stretched out her hand and wanted to stop her, but in the end, she put it down. Like a little bird in her arms, Ning Rongrong finally hugged Wang Feng. Wang Feng, I miss you so much. I don't want to be separated from you anymore. Ning Rongrong cried and said, in the past 5 years, I have been thinking about you every day. In order not to miss you, I cultivated hard every day or did all kinds of exercises. I exhausted myself every day, but I still can't help but miss you. If you didn't appear today, I don't know what I would do next. Just a few whispers seemed to be able to express the pain of missing him in the past 5 years. Cold sauce, Wang Feng said. Ning Rongrong. Ning Rongrong was so angry that she hit Wang Feng. She laughed and cried. You were so annoying. Wang Feng, 5 years ago, I had something very important to tell you. I planned to tell you after the competition, but I didn't expect. Speaking of this, Ning Rongrong suddenly raised her head and looked at Wang Feng with her starry eyes. Her delicate, snow-white cheeks were tinged with a slight blush. Now, I don't want to wait any longer. Wang Feng, you have to listen carefully. This young lady, Ning Rongrong, like you. Wang Feng, It was like a confession that was 5 years late. Ning Rongrong finally couldn't help but blurt it out. "From now on, no matter what, I will stick to you." Ning Rongrong wrapped her arms around Wang Feng's neck and looked at the changed Wang Feng in front of her. That familiar tone and voice made Ning Rongrong believe that it couldn't be a second person. If she had to say it, it would be feelings. Ning Rongrong had always believed in her own feelings. Silly girl. Wang Feng looked at Ning Rongrong with a complicated expression. She had changed. She was prettier, older, had a better temperament, and was more mature. Everything was getting better. Wang Feng had sensed Ning Rongrong's feelings for a long time, but he had always been joking around. Even now, he wanted to muddle through. At this time, looking at Ning Rongrong's blushing and beautiful face, Wang Feng spoke softly. However, Ning Rongrong suddenly covered Wang Feng's mouth with her hand and whispered, "Don't say it. I know." Wang Feng, in a chapter. Chapter 599. I don't want to care about Zhu Qing. Ning Rongrong snorted. "I'll just treat her as if she doesn't exist. I just want to know, do you like me?" Ning Rongrong was very smart. Obviously, she had already noticed Zhu Qing's feelings for Wang Feng, especially when they were in the Pope's palace. But even so, she still couldn't help it. He was like a candle flame. Ning Rongrong still wanted to throw herself at him, feel the warmth of the flame, and be greedy for the energy of the flame. "I don't like you, but you don't want to blame me?" Wang Feng shook his head. "Then I still want to blame you." Ning Rongrong laughed and hugged Wang Feng again. "Wang Feng, do you know? 5 years ago, when Zhu Qing rushed out, I was very dissatisfied. I obviously wanted to rush out." Wang Fengxin said, "If you also rushed out, then it's all over. I don't have 3 meteoric tears. Me and Zhu Qing, who will you choose?" Ning Rongrong exhaled a breath of hot air in Wang Feng's ear and said in a mosquito-like voice, "I'll choose whoever is bigger." Wang Feng pushed Ning Rongrong away and said to the other side, "Well, let's not talk about these things anymore. 3 teachers, can you all come out?" Ning Rongrong. She stomped her feet, glanced at Zhu Qing, and snorted, "Bastard, it's because my figure is not obvious, but I'm not smaller than Zhu Qing now. You don't know, do you?" At this time, the 3 teachers slowly walked out and looked at everyone. Wang Feng took the opportunity to walk away. "Little Feng, I didn't expect it to be you." The master looked at Wang Feng with a smile on his face, "But you don't need to explain. We know why you did this. In fact, your current identity is special, and the Martial Spirit Palace thinks you're dead, so you don't want to recognize them and cause trouble for them, right?" "Hey, master, you're so smart. I didn't think of this." Wang Feng nodded. "Take it as a tacit agreement. There's nothing I can do about it. Without my martial soul, my strength has been greatly reduced." Wang Feng explained, "Actually, it's not that I don't have any left. It's just that I can't use my martial spirit for the time being. The battle 5 years ago consumed a lot of my energy." Now that Wang Feng explained, Tang San and the others no longer had any doubts. "So, Brother Feng, you still have a chance to use your martial soul. Do you have any conditions?" Tang San could not help saying. He still felt very guilty. "Mistress, you don't have to feel guilty." Wang Feng seemed to have seen through Tang San's thoughts. 5 years ago, I didn't fight for anyone. If I didn't fight, I would have died. Without Uncle Hao, I would have died too. At that time, Wang Feng had gone to the Pontiff's palace because he knew about the plot and had a gold finger. For example, Wang Feng now knew the Martial Spirit Palace's plan like the back of his hand. Tang Sin nodded. "Big Brother Feng, you don't have a martial soul right now, and you don't even have soul power. How can you still be so fierce?" Ma Hongjun couldn't help but come over and grin. "It's against the rules. Did you really eat some heaven and earth treasure?" Wang Feng continued to explain, kind of, "My 4th soul skill actually has another ability, which is teleportation. That day, I narrowly escaped death and went to the extreme north. I almost died. Fortunately, I swallowed a heaven and earth treasure called Myriad Spirit Ice Heart, which barely healed my body. But I can't use my martial soul for the time being. Maybe I can't use it forever. but my strength is still there. Although it was Bibi Dong who gave him an excuse, but it was really the case. But now it could be said that everything came naturally. No one had any doubts. After all, this was what they had guessed. At this time, Zhu Zhuqing, who was standing next to Wang Feng, suddenly grabbed Wang Feng's palm gently. Wang Fengxi knew it must be because of Ning Rongrong's matter just now. Zhu Zhuqing also wanted to say something. Is it true that the older the girl, the more troublesome she is? Wang Feng couldn't help but think, don't play tricks just because I like older girls. Wang Feng won't fall for it. Azura Field or whatever, go away from me. Wang Feng. The strength of the few of you has increased quite quickly. Zhao Wuji seemed to be still thinking about the battle just now. He sighed. It's true that the new generation excels the old. I think the dean and I can't beat you. This was true. With the current strength of Zhao Wuji and Frand, it was very difficult for them to defeat the 6 of them, not to mention Xiao Wu, especially Tang San's 2 domains. Then, the group chatted for a while, talking about what happened in the past 5 years. In fact, many things had happened in the past 5 years. Xue Yu recognized Zhu Zhuqing as her elder sister. She relied on the Zhu family to marry Dai Mubai and become the crown princess. At the same time, Wang Feng also knew that Xue Bing'er went to the extreme north to cultivate 2 years ago. 2 years ago, when Wang Feng was still in the City of Massacre, Wang Feng also knew the reason why Xue Bing'er went to the extreme north to cultivate. It was probably because of Yi's consciousness in the skull. After all, that place was very suitable for Yi. Xue Bing was the martial soul of a mutated ice phoenix. It was very suitable for her to cultivate there. It could also protect Yi's consciousness to the greatest extent. Wang Feng also knew that Oscar found a similarly talented food-type soul master as his girlfriend in the Star Luo Empire's Royal Academy. Their relationship was very good now. He heard that he originally planned to bring her back for them to see, but he came in a hurry and didn't come with them. When Wang Feng heard this, he was slightly emotional. 5 years of training had changed Oscar and Ma Hongjun a lot. At the same time, the 5 of them had a significant increase in their soul power. This was partly due to the immortal grass, and also because of the cultivation method that Wang Feng taught them. Over time, their soul power had increased significantly. Wang Feng didn't know what their soul power was in the original book, but it was definitely higher. At the same time, the one who changed the most was naturally Zhu Zhuqing. Zhu Zhuqing might not know what kind of existence she had, but the effect was very obvious. Her soul power was able to surpass Dai Mubai because of this meteoric tier. Otherwise, no matter how much she cultivated, she wouldn't be able to reach such a level. Wang Feng was the one who understood Tang San's situation the most. After everyone discussed, they went to eat and drink until late at night. This made Wang Feng reminisce about his previous life. Although he was an otaku, he still had a few friends. Every year, when they gathered, they would talk about all kinds of things that happened in the past year. Night. The soul hunt has begun. Wang Feng stood in the dormitory room of the Shrek Academy. These were the rooms that the Shrek's 7 monsters had used before. They had been preserved according to Dean Flinder's instructions. This kind of place was for people to come and worship. It couldn't be used for others to live in. He even listed the rooms that the 8 of them used as one of the few scenic spots in the Shrek Academy. This made Wang Feng think of the time when he was in the Holy Soul Village. However, since everyone was gathered, they naturally planned to stay for another 2 days. In a chapter that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.